Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dan Shepard, and I'm joined by Monica Mouse.
Hi.
Hello. Our returning guest, he was phenomenal the first time he was here.
He joined us for Christmas as well.
He came by for Christmas.
He's been around a few times. Josh
Gad, what a party Josh is. Josh is a Tony Award-nominated actor. He was in the Book of Mormon, which I got to see him in. Just lucky. I feel very lucky
so
about.
Lucky.
He was in the Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Yes.
We get some backstory on that.
Yeah.
And then Frozen, Pixels, The Wedding Ringer, Beauty and the Beast. Oh, Gutenberg, the musical too. That was recently. I saw that too.
Yeah.
He has a book out right now. It's very, very well done. A beautiful memoir called In Gad We Trust. This is a really fun interview. It was at the apex of our terror. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. And we talk about it.
We process it at the top.
Yeah. There's some fire talk, but it's a really armchair episode because it's funny. Josh is so funny, but also it's pretty deep. We talk about his dad and a lot of and his insecurities. And I don't know. I thought it was a really
it has all the stuff.
Beautiful encapsulation of what we try to do here.
Yeah.
So it's great.
I agree. Also, we have February Armchair Anonymous prompts for folks who have great stories and want to chat with us on Zoom. Here are the February prompts. Live sporting event disasters. I hope to not be reporting one of those.
Yeah.
Proposals gone wrong.
Yeah.
I guess that could be a wider net than first meets the eye, because you would think just wedding proposals, but there's like business proposals. Sure. There's proposals. So proposals gone wrong. Crazy 23andMe DNA testing stories. This is by popular demand.
They all were. I want to thank the Armchairies. I put out a post and said, what do you want to hear on Armchair Anonymous? And people really gave amazing prompts. So I appreciate that.
Yes. Left to our own devices, we would do wildcard nurses and poop your pants stories exclusively. Okay. And the fourth is at home DIY project gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be a lot of those. So please enjoy Josh Gad. We are supported by Allstate. They've partnered with us to be the presenting sponsor of this episode, and you could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. You're in good hands with Allstate. Keep watching to hear more about Allstate during the fact check.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
You want a coffee, right?
I always want a coffee. Do you remember what I like?
You like cold brews, I recall.
I do, baby. Oh, yes, you remember.
You mean something to me.
You mean something to me, even though you don't have me over unless it's for work. Mm-hmm. You never invite me to.
But isn't that true across the board for all of us?
Yeah, it's kind of fair because I don't invite you over to my place.
You've never invited me over. I've invited you over too, albeit for work. Still, it's in.
I don't have a podcast.
Well, then fucking invite me over for a chit chat.
Okay.
I can't
That's
top
a no?
this.
Oh, yes. It's been done and you could.
No.
Back to work. Ideally, you get enough leverage at some point that really you just get to work with all your friends, right? That's the apex goal.
My goal is this, is get enough leverage to just work with my friends and do it across the street from where I live.
Maybe ideally in the backyard.
Now, that is sort of like next level thinking.
Okay, so let's address the obvious context in which we record this. We had a guest who canceled. Well, we had two guests that canceled for reasons they could not, avoid the LA fires. And so I called you as one of my friends.
Yes.
And conveniently, you have a book out. So you do need to do some promotion.
That's convenient. Have we started, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Don't you remember ABR?
Oh, God.
Always be recording. Have you had the Titanic conversation? Like, who are you on the Titanic?
I'm Kathy Bates. Are we talking about the movie or are we talking about the real incident?
The movie.
The film.
Well, which is based on 100% reality.
I'm the Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Okay.
I'm clearly playing a cello on the deck of the ship as it goes down.
Right.
I think you're the Billy Zane character.
Ooh, wasn't he naughty?
He was a bad
He was the
boy.
bad guy, right?
You seem like you could go either way. as you spray whatever that is into your mouth.
Nicotine spray. You saw I had the lozenges.
I like to think of myself as the little old lady who's looking for a necklace towards the end of her life.
She survived.
And then it's just like, if I have to die, so does the worth and value of this necklace.
Yeah, I'm going to take it with me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that
take
back
it
in
with
the
me.
ocean.
Yeah.
Throw that baby back in the ocean.
But yes, we're in a situation where a good part of the city is on fire. Continues to be. I will say it's not at the peak of scariness.
They're starting to contain a little more.
It's
We've got a lot of help has arrived. There's a lot of airplanes on the scene now.
Well, can I say 3 things really quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
One, my heart breaks for every single person
horrifying.
who has lost their home right now. We know personally 15 people who have lost everything. It is unthinkable what's happening. The entire zip codes are gone.
Yeah.
Our friends from the Pacific Palisades, their communities are wiped out.
It's like Dresden.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
razed
absolutely
completely.
a war zone.
Yeah.
Secondly, I have never seen on such a personal level the kind of bravery, the kind of camaraderie, and the kind of we are not taking this sitting down attitude as the SoCal community has shown. Hosing down each other's homes.
Yeah.
We've been dropping items off at various shelters around town. They are rejecting
I
what we're
know.
dropping off because it is so full.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we continue to donate to all, and I would encourage everyone who's listening right now, can we make a list available of the various places that people can make donations?
You're looking at me as if I'm going to
Can
make
you
the list,
do
but I
this?
bet I can get the list
You
made.
can do
Yeah,
that,
I don't want to
because-
personally lie to you and commit that I'm going to make the
But I
list
want
and publish
you
it.
to. I don't
but
want her to have anything to do with it.
I know that, and that's why I refuse to lie to you even in these pressing
Okay,
times.
as long as you
oversee,
delegate
yes.
and then
Yes.
check it off. Because if there's any fake numbers on there, I'm going to blame you. If there's any bank routing numbers that go directly to your account,
Right.
I'm going to be pissed.
Right.
And I won't do
LLC.
this a 4th time. So I want to say that,
Okay.
and I want to say that, whatever happens next is on Dax, how we rebound as a city. And then the final thing I want to say is the firefighters.
Oh my God.
I
What
don't
bad motherfucker.
I
Can't
don't
believe it.
know that I've ever seen such fucking superheroes in
I
real
know.
life
Yeah.
as these guys who are risking it all without giving a flying fuck
I know.
about fires 2 inches away from them. And I'm watching I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I'm watching it like it's fucking like Sunday Night Football. These guys are so
No.
badass.
Yes.
They really are.
The aerial stuff is what's
Unbelievable.
blowing my mind. At night in a mountain range, zero visibility, Chinooks. I mean, everything right on top of each other, flying in complete blindness and dropping it bullseye every time. It's blowing away the Top Gun flight sequences.
It really is. And I think that was their objective. They all watched Maverick before.
Thank God for
Well,
Tom Cruise.
They flew out there and they said, let's make it look as cool as possible.
All things
as
are
we-
true. It's a tragedy of really unimaginable proportion until we saw it. Also, the folks that have trained to fight fires in the craziest situation, they're enthralled. Like they're doing the job they've been training to do in the craziest circumstance. So I'm just imagining what it's like to be in the helicopter the whole time. Like it must be incredible to be able to put your skills to the test like that.
It's also, I don't know if you've had this sensation watching them when they drop the fire retardant in the
The
water,
red
but
stuff.
it's the precision with which they do it. It's like it is exhilarating because you're like, fucking save that whole community,
I
please.
know.
And they're
They do
doing
it.
it, and it seems unthinkable because you see these massive flames heading towards these communities. It looks unstoppable, and they are stopping
They're
it.
doing it.
And
It's a war, and I have to admit,
is.
when I'm watching those harrowing drops, many times I'm saying out loud by myself watching downstairs, "Fuck yeah!" Like it's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck yeah!"
And then at the same time, you think about, the too little, too late communities like the Palisades and like Pasadena. And it's heartbreaking and devastating for those people who aren't on the ground in SoCal. let me tell you now, it's going to be years, and we're going to need all the help we can get.
That's my sort of plea is like, we're in it right now and we're in triage mode and we're dropping stuff off and we're doing, X, Y, and Z, which is all great. We need to be doing it, but we need to be doing it in a month, in 2 months, in a year.
That's
I mean, this is going to be easy to forget, just like all natural disasters are, but this is a long haul and it's going to take a long time. I encourage people to keep an eye on us and like keep donating and keep helping if you can, of course.
If you can, in whatever way you can, even, the amount of people who have lost clothes.
I know.
We were speaking to a family who lost their home, and we said, do you need anything? And they said, we don't have any clothes. We literally don't have clothes. And it's just little things that you don't even think about. You think about all the possessions.
Yeah.
It's actually, in a way, really nice to be here. I needed a little bit of a distraction from the chaos.
Well, and I wanted to ask you, because I sense just a hint of like there's some ethical dilemma about doing something
when
like
you
this.
asked me to come today, I definitely hesitated.
Yeah.
And I posted about this the other day. I am doing everything I can, and none of it feels like enough.
Yeah. I know.
None of it feels like enough. The reason I came on today was I was like, oh, we can start by talking about this. That is actually making me feel better about sitting across from such a piece of shit like you who continues to do podcasts in these kinds of situations.
Well, I think a knee jerk would be, why would all these people are suffering and I'm going to go do this thing that has really no value outside of just entertainment. And that feels like I shouldn't be having fun when my friends are suffering and dealing with loss. I think that's an obvious thing to contend with right out of the gates. But my thing is, me joining people in misery isn't a solution. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help me. I have a job.
Yeah.
And when I can do my job, I should do my job.
Amen.
Right? All the other people are at their jobs. That's my takeaway. No one at 7-Eleven right now is going, do I feel guilty that I'm selling hot dogs right now when people are suffering? Like, no, I'm at my job because I have a job and that's my commitment. So that's my own personal takeaway on it.
It's a great point. This morning, we actually had this conversation where I said to my wife, you know what, I'm going to make a pot of coffee. And she said, why don't you go to Starbucks, get it? And I said, well, I go to Starbucks. I don't want to go outside with the air. She goes, because the community needs that right now. Restaurants need the support. There are so many people who are fleeing right now. And these places that aren't even in the line of fire are going to feel the effects of it. It is going to hurt everybody.
Yeah, it's catastrophic. I'm also just coming off watching the Churchill 4-part documentary on Netflix. And you're watching what the folks in London did 57 nights in a row of this.
Have you ever read The Splendid and the Vile?
That's Eric Larson.
Eric
right?
Larson, one of my favorite authors.
Yes, I have.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
We've had him on the show, not to brag.
Who, Churchill?
Yeah.
Yep, him too.
Yeah, he was great.
Posthumously, but we had him.
Controversial, but yeah.
You guys did like through Ouija? How did you do?
AI.
AI.
Yeah, we talked
AI.
to the estate.
See, that's the promise. There's a downside, but that's the promise.
Yeah, I can chat with Churchill. But, those people were waking up in a subway platform next to 6 kids. There was no bathrooms, and they went straight to work.
Unbelievable.
They stayed calm and they carried on. So people will have complaints about me working, but that's my own ethic, which is like, no, stay calm, carry on.
It's a great point. That stiff upper lip is exactly what I think of when I think of the British people going through that period. And it is true. We're unfortunately living through a period of post-apocalyptic situations. The reason I started writing my book was actually I was inspired by telling the story of parenting at the end of the world, in what feels like it's the end of the world. I have had 2 children, and most of their lives have been defined by pandemics, by disaster, by socio-political upheaval.
Yeah.
You never stop and think about it, but like we lived and we grew up in a period in which we had great ease, right? The world was a very peaceful place in the context of history.
But Josh,
was it though? Yeah.
it wasn't.
Think about Sapiens. Have you guys read the book Sapiens?
Yes.
We've had him on, not to
I know
brag.
you've had him on
Yeah.
through AI.
I wrote half
But
of
you
it.
think about what Yuval said. We are living in the greatest time of prosperity and peace in the history of mankind.
And lack of starvation and our handle on diseases. And really, by all metrics, what you're saying, which I also feel, is objectively wrong. So
Right.
yes, our tranquil 80s, our parents were freaked out by something much larger, which was you had Bay of Pigs. Nuclear holocaust was on the table in a real way
Before
daily.
we were born.
81. You were born in 81.
He's not even looking at any cards right
No.
now.
February 23rd,
Whoa.
1981.
Mensa boy. Yes.
The show the day after was on NBC when you were 5 years old. That was a show about what do we do the day after the nuclear annihilation. No, there was like the greatest existential crisis of all time on planet Earth was crescendoing when you were a little boy. You just weren't,
I didn't remember it.
you weren't really aware of it. And then prior
That's
to that,
fair.
our parents were like Vietnam and Kent State and shooting students on a,
Again, before we were born.
I'm just saying our parents.
Our parents definitely lived through a period of upheaval, the likes of which resonates with what we're going through today.
Yeah.
Political leaders being assassinated one after another, the world on the precipice of nuclear war, my parents hiding under their desks. That was not my experience in the peaceful and prosperity bubble that I
Playing
lived
with
in.
G.I.
Yeah.
Joe
In
in
the
Hollywood.
1980s and 1990s.
Right.
Now, that is not to say that everything was perfect, but it is certainly not to say that it wasn't better than what I'm raising my kids through right now, which is climate change is an existential crisis. The world seems like it's on the brink of chaos on a daily basis.
Mhm.
We had a first of its kind pandemic in the first time in a century.
Yeah.
We're doing this as half our city is on fire.
I know.
So it's like that proximity to chaos.
Yeah.
And that is not to say that areas of the world haven't experienced
Exactly.
this.
Oh, they're interviewing
been
last
doing
night. I'm watching on KCAL. You've got a family that just came here from Ukraine, escaping
That's
the
it.
war, and
That's
their
it.
apartment building burns down. Oh, those people are going from war zone to war zone.
Israel and all
Israel,
of it.
Palestine.
Yeah.
It's happening on a global level.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there hasn't been, places that have been directly affected by genocide, by starvation, by all sorts of crises during the past 40 years. But this period feels particularly dark.
I just want to push back and say, like, it feels unique, but I actually think it's completely consistent with what happens on planet Earth. So when we were
That
at
is also
Carnegie
fair.
Mellon,
Yeah, that's also fair.
you had the Serbian Croatia genocide with like 1.5 million people, and the kind of things they were doing to the people as they killed them they really
Rwanda.
surpassed anything that's happening
Yeah.
in
Think about
Ukraine.
Rwanda.
Exactly.
Rwanda. So it's been ever present. And I think the real thing to remember is it's a challenging place. There's 7 billion of us. A lot of shit goes wrong. A ton of stuff goes right. We're not unique. And we got to carry on and we got to continue to make it a little bit better because this is status quo on planet Earth. It just feels
It
because
is.
we're raising kids now. So we have a different lens than we would have had if even we went through the pandemic without kids. We're like, okay, this is kind of cool. You drink all day and you hang out with friends and blah, blah, blah. But now that we have kids, you're like, wow, they haven't seen other children for a year.
Yeah.
That feels scary. So I just think our lens obviously changes because we have these little people we care about so much. And we're turning this world over to them and we're a little scared. Like, what are we turning
That's
over?
100% true. And it's also, I think, frustrating that we don't learn from history. That when it comes to, for instance, geopolitical conflict, right? There are certain things outside of our control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The pandemic, for the most part, was outside of anyone's control.
Right.
Yeah.
This virus.
This
There's all
is
these people-
outside of anyone's control.
Yeah, there's all these people who want to be mad at the mayor. They want to be mad at the governor. They want to be mad. Like, there's so many people that are trying to line up and blame this horrific thing on a single individual. It's like,
know.
gang,
It's like,
blame
guys,
Santa
it's
Ana wins.
wind.
It is really, really hard for me to sort of think about at a time like this, criticizing anyone.
Do you see the video of that Karen ambushing?
Yes,
Newsom?
I saw it. But by the way, like in the same way, I never hold DeSantis responsible for the destruction of hurricanes.
Yeah,
I grew up in
exactly.
South Florida. I know the pain
Yeah.
and the chaos of those events. I lived through Hurricane Andrew.
But
Only
see,
so much you
there
can
you
do preventatively, and there's only so much you can do during the crisis. Really, your job as a leader is what you do after. What you do to speak calm to people during, and then how you rebuild.
Yeah.
I know you were going to say, see, you lived through.
You lived through a hurricane. We just forgot. And
Yeah.
also 9/11.
Of course.
terrorism. Like our memories are so short.
Yeah, they
we
are.
do forget that we go through these horrible periods and we recover from those periods and then they come back. You know, it is all temporary. It's
You know what?
really
You guys
hard
are
to
right.
say right
Fuck
now.
Yuval. You can never have him back on your show
Don't
again.
dare say that. He's one of our most treasured guests.
Sacrilegious.
Well, it's funny. I was reading your book this morning, and you have the line in there, which is like, comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're going to engage without the benefit of time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We've had Polar on. We've had a lot of different people who it's like, some people's first week on Saturday Night Live was 9:15.
Right.
People have had to decide whether or not they're going to carry on.
I remember that episode. That was Giuliani, right? Coming on. at the-
Probably.
Yeah. But them having the ethical dilemma, is it
Yeah.
appropriate
No,
to
that's-
be funny
that's
right now?
great.
And everyone gets to choose how they handle the stress. And so I have a way of handling the stress, and mine is through laughing. And all I would ask is like, if that's not your way of handling stress, that's cool. Do it however you want. But I don't think anyone can tell someone else what they're allowed to do to handle it.
Amen.
I promise you, if my house was engulfed in flames, I would be making a joke because I've done it. I'm making
Yeah.
a joke when my dad's dying. I'm
Yeah.
making a joke like, this is how I process it for
That's
better
how
or
I
worse.
process grief too.
Yeah.
And it's therapeutic, and it's not appropriate for everyone, but
No.
but it is how I'm wired,
Yeah.
and I've always been unapologetic about that.
Yeah.
My grandparents told me themselves that when they were in the Holocaust, a lot of how they got through their daily lives and being on the brink of death on a daily basis was by laughing.
If you can give yourself that little burst of happiness, it's a reminder that it's still possible on the other side. It's like a
Yeah.
great reminder, like, oh, yes, and I will laugh and I will experience fun and levity and all this stuff. For me, everyone gets to do it their own way.
Yeah, this has been great, guys. Thank you so much. I'm glad we did
processed
this.
it all for the nation.
Because I couldn't get my therapist on the phone today, so this ended up being a good.
Because their house was burned
Yeah,
down.
because they no longer have a phone, a landline. I'm glad that you guys were here for me. Thank you.
Where you're leaving though, right? You're deserting this town in its time of need.
yeah.
With all that stuff
So,
you just
so
said.
having said that, I think it's best to get out of here while the going is good. No, we're sticking close right now. We have discussed leaving because of air quality.
Yeah.
We live on the west side, very close to the fires right now. We're talking about it. We're talking about, do we maybe go like an hour south or north
Yeah.
just to get the kids
Yeah.
to be able to go outside?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to leave tomorrow for my book tour.
Yes, that's what I
And,
meant.
and I was going to cancel it. And to your point, my wife said absolutely not.
How's that helping anybody? If you
Well, that's what she
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
She said, you are actually more of a burden if I'm evacuating than you are a help. And so I think it's best for our family if you leave.
That you go.
Yeah, go to New York where you're useful.
Yeah,
Leave
totally.
LA where you're a burden to this
Yeah.
family. You piece of shit. Yeah.
But also, I just want to touch on one other thing. Yesterday, I was like, I need to stay on my bike riding schedule. I have a New Year's resolution that I ride to the observatory
Yeah.
twice a week. So yesterday, I get out there and I start riding up the hill. And the gates are closed to go up into Griffith Park, but I'm presuming for cars.
Right.
They don't want cars up there. Great. And so I go around the gate and I get halfway up the thing, and then some rangers roll down on a loudspeaker and they let me have it a little bit. And they're like, it's closed. And I go, oh, yeah, to cars. And they're like, no, it's closed. There's no hiking. And all that to say, I'm like, God, those guys are, why can't I ride my bike? Get home and I realize, oh, all these motherfuckers, there are arsonists out
Exactly.
now in force. So they have no clue who is up in the hills
that's
to
right.
start a
I know.
fire. And
They've
over-
arrested 2 already.
Yeah.
And by the way, you were probably like a prime suspect to them because
Yes.
you look
like a piece of shit.
you look like a real piece of shit. You look like the guy from the Titanic who took all the
Zane again.
Yeah, Billy.
Zane.
But with beautiful hair. I do think that it is really tough. That's the other thing. It is tough because to go back to what I said at the beginning, I've seen such greatness and I've seen such beauty in this city, and I've also seen such ugliness.
We're all here.
Wow.
And it's like the looting,
Yeah.
the people fucking flying their drones and affecting planes from dropping water.
It's hard not to.
Fuck
It's
you
so fucked
all.
up.
I know.
And then the arsonists, people fucking going around
Yeah,
and
now's
lighting
my
more
time.
fires.
People setting their houses on fire. Some people
Yep.
are setting their houses on fire. Yeah.
And so that part of it remains really heartbreaking, really frustrating.
And this is where we file into our natural state. So yesterday, Kristen is out.
This is Kristen Bell, for those who don't know.
Your co-star
Correct.
from the films
Yes, that's where I
Frozen
know
1
her
and
from.
2
Yes,
and
yes,
hopefully
yes,
3
yes.
at some point.
Yeah.
She's out doing the Lord's work with the children, and I'm selfishly taking a bike ride. But I'm also nonstop with my buddy Brandon from the LAPD. She's thinking about helping, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can feel the energy. I was at the gas
Right.
station late at night, and a lot of the boys were out on dirt bikes, and it felt like Detroit on Devil's Night. I was like, yeah, the
Yeah.
young men are going to get into some shit. I get it. She's out helping, but I'm like, okay, we got some chance I will have to defend the family at
Yeah.
some point, and that's where my focus ends
Yeah.
up being, right?
Yeah.
We all just kind of funnel into wherever.
Yeah. I don't have friends at the LAPD. And now I feel like I should.
want
Would you like me
sort
to
of
put you on a
acquire
group
some.
text with
Can I?
Brandon?
Yeah. If I see anything suspicious, I'd like someone official to reach out to.
Yeah,
and
it's
I just
also
have their
like
general
status
number.
right now. Like
Yeah.
it's really cool to be friends with a firefighter
Yeah.
right now.
You have a direct number. I've got just 3 911. That's
Yeah,
all I
just
know.
have three,
Yeah.
three
Yeah,
numbers.
I just
of
have the
regular
3 numbers everyone has.
It sounds like you're not going to play it super cool if I do give you his number, though. Just based on.
I'm telling you now, I won't.
Do you want to role play?
I'm telling you now, it would be like putting me on a text chain with Harrison Ford. Like, it's just there's
Hey,
going to be a
bro.
little.
What kind of gun do you carry, Brandon?
Did you report these potential hooligans?
No, I just hit him up and I said, I was just at the gas station. The boys are out. He's also from Detroit. I'm like, it feels like Devil's Night, Detroit. And he goes, yeah, isn't it wild? You can feel it in the air. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it's like palpable. If you used to be a scumbag, like,
Right.
yeah, I'm on that wavelength. I said, like, if I'm 21 and I'm broke, which I was, and I'm drunk, and I think, oh yeah, all these rich people's house burnt down. They took a bunch of stuff, but probably there's a bunch of jewelry and stuff just sitting on the ground, and your mind starts wandering. And I don't have anything, and they have everything. Like even someone who's like on the spectrum of dirtbaggery, they could be midway through and convince themselves. Like you can just see people making the argument, or at least I can see that happening.
I think that there's a lot of people taking advantage of a horrible situation
Yeah.
right now.
They'll feel bad for it at 50.
You will.
Yes.
You will eventually. You will either eventually pay a price,
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
or you will eventually regret it. And it's horrible to take advantage of people in any situation
Yeah.
who have already lost so much.
Yeah, to prey on people who are victims is
Yeah.
a rough look.
Yeah.
But again, if you're penniless
No.
in the middle of nowhere and you're looking at
Are
multimillionaires,
you planning on doing this tonight? It sounds like you're
He's talking it through in a way.
really like
No.
starting to strategize.
I'm
this in
saying
a way
I'd be
that's
lying
worrying
if
me.
I couldn't understand the rationale.
Am I at risk from you? Are you
We're not
What's
not
your-
keeping an
facing
eye on
my
your
house right now?
Well, I did notice you upgraded. Last time you were here in a Lexus 300 4-door sedan.
Right. You're like actually taking like you're clocking. the
And now
cars.
you're in an upgraded Lexus SUV.
Yeah.
So that's a nice car.
What are you doing right now? I
I'm
feel
just
very
saying.
uncomfortable. I feel very uncomfortable with you. Like I couldn't even tell you what my last car was.
It was black,
Oh, geez.
right? You parked it right
Yeah.
over here, and we took a long look at it because I said, this is the car I'd put you in. It's so South
That's
Florida.
right.
I was like, this is your car.
Do you feel like when you look at my new car, do you understand why I'm driving in that one, or are you sort of like this doesn't fit as well?
I do understand it.
Okay.
First of all, I don't own any of them, but they're
Right.
great cars. You can drive
Thank
them for
you.
1,000,000 miles.
I love them. They
Yeah.
get the job done.
They're not flashy, but they're
Not flashy,
comfortable.
but I'm going to tell you this now. I've never been a car guy.
I know.
I'm jealous of all of my friends who like know every model and make of every car. And like, I can't do that. I've never operated like that. I look for a nice interior.
That's right.
That is
In a quiet, soft ride.
a quiet, soft ride, great stereo,
yes.
and it can get me from point A to point C.
Exterior colors immaterial. You probably don't care about that.
No, don't. I'm jealous that you have like such a knowledge of cool
Really?
cars.
I'd imagine what he's jealous of. I don't want to speak for you. You're jealous of my enthusiasm because I get this.
I'm jealous of hobbyists in general.
Right.
So, like, if you have a knowledge of something niche or something specific, I am jealous because I love knowledge.
Yeah.
I love to collect knowledge. I love people who know something so well that is very attractive to me. I'm
Expertise,
like, that's
yeah.
really cool
Yeah.
to have great expertise. It's why I love your show. You collect knowledge for a living.
Yeah.
This particular episode is making people stupider. But in general,
no,
when you have
No, we have that
experts in
list of
different-
numbers, remember?
We got
We're
that
gonna
list of
get-
numbers
That's
that
coming.
you're going
Dax
to
is
curate.
gonna
that I'm going to
Yeah.
delegate.
But what I love is that that's what you do.
Yeah.
You invite people on this show who are experts in different areas.
Oh, it's so great.
It's the coolest thing. Are you going to add my book to your bookshelf behind you?
Absolutely. I wanted to start this episode. It's too late, but we've never started with a hard like this, and I wanted it to go. Hi, if you're joining us, we're here with Josh Gad, author of Gad. That just felt like something I never got to do as an entertainer.
Such a PBS 1979.
Yeah. As if the interviewer would be just finishing.
Yeah.
Oh, what a book.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
If you're just joining us, we're with
love
Josh Gad, author of In Gad We
Do
Trust.
you think there was another world in which you were born maybe like 20 years earlier that you ended up on NPR? Or do you think like your career would have gone stern, like before podcasts?
I could answer it, but I don't trust what the answer would be.
Okay.
I think my soul and heart always wanted to be NPR, but I grew up in an area where toxic masculinity was the currency. I didn't have a dad, and I was doing all the things.
Right.
So I would like to believe, yes, I would have become Ira Glass, but the truth is I probably would have
Would have
tried
been
to
Stern.
be a knockoff
Right.
Howard Stern.
Right.
Yeah, not as good as Howard Stern. So I've just through many years been able to finally pursue and embrace the person the little boy wanted to be and not necessarily the aggro dude that was sending a message to everyone not to try to hurt me.
It's still there.
Oh, yeah.
As someone who edits, I think it's more stern
Yes.
than it is NPR.
No, but
in
you-
a great way.
But you know
Who
what?
doesn't love
But you know
Stern?
what's great about Stern too? I think like Dax, Stern could have ended up easily on NPR. I think Stern has the capacity and the skill set
Yeah.
to be
Oh,
equally
100%.
equally riveting on NPR
But
as he
he's
is.
choosing his authentic honesty over.
Correct.
I don't know. I don't want to be I love NPR. I don't want to be disparaging, but that's more curated
Right.
and
It's
Stern
very
is
wet.
more
NPR has
honest.
very wet mouths.
Oh, ew.
When you listen to NPR, it's
They're moist.
a very moist. Don't be upset
I
about
don't
it.
get
It's an
really
observation,
upset.
but you know I'm right.
Yeah.
There's like a quality that's very intimate and very
Yeah.
wet.
Yes, I admire. They're like great comedians who they're pacing so slow and they're not scared.
yeah.
They talk so slow and monotone and they're not
Yeah.
worried at all they're losing
Not.
people. In fact, the more boring it is, the more in it to it I am.
Yes.
But what I think you're highlighting, which is worth highlighting, is our heroes.
Yeah.
They were Trojan horses. Letterman came with the promise of irreverent, provocative comedy. But what you stayed for and fell in love with is you were like, oh, I think he's always smarter than the person he's talking to.
Did you ever do Letterman?
Yeah.
He was the one host who always intimidated me.
Oh, it's so scary.
It's so scary because you know he's smarter. This was the same thing being on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Oh, I know.
When I had to sit and pitch something to John, I have never been more intimidated in my life.
That's so
Yeah.
scary.
He scares me.
He's the smartest man in every room.
Yeah.
And he just knows better than you know what's funny and what's going to work and what is not going to work.
Yeah.
And how to articulate
And
it
how to
all.
articulate it. Yeah.
And the delivery, it's like somehow he's confrontational without ever feeling like a bully.
Yeah.
He's magic. But I'll just say that Stern's the same thing. You come for him making fun of Ronnie, but really it's the intelligence that keeps you there for a long time. And Conan's like, it's so insanely smart. It's crazy. So he's making dumb jokes, but you know there's this intelligence behind it. And I think for me, that's the appeal of all those guys.
Yes, I agree.
So I went back. We're almost exactly at 5 years since you were here last time.
Oh,
Is that right?
Would you have thought that?
No, I don't think about the show very much.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. Why would you?
I mean, I don't
But
remember
to
your
save
car.
your family's life, if I said, how long ago were you here? What answer would you have
Oh
given?
man, I don't want to say goodbye to my family.
You better get this right.
Yeah, I better get this right.
Do that.
No, I think it's the perfect time.
This has become very ominous, this episode. Yeah, 5 years. That
Yeah.
feels right. But I remember doing a guest spot or another appearance.
You've done Christmas with us.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Because I remember that was after.
That would have been after.
So that's why I feel like it hasn't been 5 years, because you invited me to, like today, as a last minute sort of, we need filler. Like Gad is good for filler episodes.
No, you're
Can
a
I be
home
honest with
run.
you? Just to alleviate any shadow talk you're having.
Right.
I said to my wife, I'm fucked. I don't really know what to do. We had 2 episodes that were going to easily come out because I was going to record them on Thursday.
Right.
And I don't know what to do. I'm like, who's in town and who would even be willing? So we start thinking. And then I walk by on our kitchen table, your book is sitting. And I go, well, fuck, Gad's got to be promoting this book. Call him. It wasn't,
I appreciate it.
let's go to the end of the list. It was like, Gad set this book on my fucking dining room table. And I was like, oh, duh, he's got a book to promote. He should be in anyways.
So was it pre-pandemic?
Yeah, February 20th.
Oh,
yeah, it was right
good
before your
Lord.
birthday.
Oh my God.
Right before the pandemic hit and right in the middle of a fire. We got you right where
Yeah,
we
we can't
want
wait
you.
to-
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you when the dinosaurs come out of the ocean and start
gonna say, like,
gobbling up people.
I'm really concerned about my third appearance on this show. I don't know
Well,
where
they
we
seem
go,
to
where it's
keep
going to
getting
be.
worse.
Aliens.
Live from the set of Hell, here's Josh Gad.
From the bowels of hell. Can I tell you what I love about you? You're so fast and witty and fun. And I don't want to label it competitive. It's probably just
No, I think
competitiveness.
it's- Yeah.
But I'm not going to let someone operate at 120 miles an hour while I'm next to them going 60. It's just not in my nature.
That's why you case their cars. That's why you know everything you need to know about them, so you can hurt them if they try.
You think so fast and you're so funny that it brings out the best side
but
of
I'm not an
myself.
expert in anything.
That's
Yes,
not
you
true.
are.
That's not true.
Am I?
This whole fucking
Comedy.
forensic NFL bullshit I
Oh,
was
yeah,
learning
yeah.
about.
Isn't
What
that
a
crazy?
nerdy, like I'm reading words I've never read before.
Like I talk about in my book, I thought it was the chopping up of dead bodies for investigative purposes. And instead, it's actually like a thing that high schoolers do, which is another word for speech and debate. And so like I'll get stopped today, not today because we're in the middle.
There's bigger fish to fry
There's
today.
bigger fish to fry today.
Yeah, but maybe next
But in
month.
general, but maybe next month again, people will feel willing to come up to me and say, I know you from high school. But people watch my high school videos from speech and debate and forensics.
Well, you're a 3-time national
I was a 3-time
champ.
national champ. You have more respect for me than you've ever had.
'Cause she's a
really
2-time national
do.
champ.
Are
Well,
you?
state. I'm a 2-time state champ cheerleading.
Oh,
And-
cheer! No, I never did that.
competition
surprisingly.
cheerleading.
But it's
I
in your list
understand
of
how
things.
hard it is to do.
Cheerleading?
No, just winning anything at that level
Yes.
when you're in high school.
So I didn't make the cheer team
But you tried?
multiple times.
In his book, he lays out the options for high school.
Right.
And he's like, okay, the jocks are the athletes, not going to happen.
Pretty accurate, right?
Cheerleading,
Yeah.
I just don't fit in the outfits,
Right.
you said.
Yeah.
And then Model UN, insufferable.
Mhm.
And then you get to forensics. Yeah.
And so like I fit that group because it's got a performative
Yes.
element to it. Never learned how to play chess.
Right,
Still
that
to
was
this day don't know how to play
another
chess.
option.
So like I would have been like the kind of guy that played chess, but nobody taught me how.
Sure.
This is what not having a father around does is you don't learn things like love of cars, how to play chess.
Yeah.
So like I missed all of that. So I was like, oh, speech and debate. That feels like something I can do.
Mhm.
A lot of how I fell into this was through that world.
Yeah.
The performing.
Well,
the
that's
performance
another
element.
thing that not having a father around will do. It will make you a performer and a comedian.
100%.
It really will.
I'm so glad that you start the book in the way you do. First of all, it's very, very well written. Did you write it?
No, ChatGPT.
Okay.
Everything.
God, they got your
They're
voice.
really
They're-
good.
They really do.
They really do.
They have it down.
It's really, really well written. But you start with your personal story, which of course starts with your parents. And we touched on it last time, but like your dad's almost out of a movie.
It's
I mean,
wild.
tell people about where your
It's
dad came
wild.
from and then
We've
the
had
line
this
of work.
conversation, but every time it surprises you.
Well, the Columbia part was new to me.
Really?
The
I thought I
emerald
talked about it,
trade.
yeah.
The emerald trade.
So my father is It is out of a movie. My dad was a Jew born in Afghanistan.
Which was maybe their third or fourth stop.
Correct. They were like nomads. You know, you can actually trace my lineage back to one of the original tribes of Israel, the Gad tribe. And so like they were just going from like place to place and being told, no, you are not welcome here. And surprisingly, like Afghanistan, which seems like a great place for Jews, turned out not to be.
I always think if I was
it's
Jewish,
like,
the next stop, Kabul.
It's like, my father got into precious jewels along with his
Israel.
brothers. In Israel.
They then moved to Israel when he's 12.
Correct. And then, God, you
And he
really
learns to cut diamonds there.
That's right.
Yeah.
When you're 12 years old, that's a great way to make a living.
Yeah.
And so by day he was doing that. And by night he was a bodybuilder.
Which again,
crazy.
Not what I'm expecting.
No. And I have a picture in there, I think, of my dad just ripped.
He was
looking
jacked.
like, I mean, he looked like Venice Beach, like Schwarzenegger, really
Kumail.
crazy. Kumail.
That's who we talked about last time.
That's right. He looks like Kumail.
His body had just been unveiled 5 years ago.
Right, for Marvel.
Yeah.
He looked like Marvel era Kumail.
Yeah.
Does Kumail still look like my dad?
Yeah. I've been texting with
Like
him
my
nonstop
dad.
about our bodies.
So, yeah.
He's my only outlet to send shirtless photos of myself anywhere. Because
Really?
I can't send them to
Do you think Kumail
women.
would welcome me sending him shirtless pictures
He'd love
of
it.
myself?
We love the mail form.
All right, I'm going to send him.
You should.
I'm going to send him.
You should.
With no contact.
I'm giving you Brandon's number from the LAPD and then Kumail's.
It's all in a chain.
Oh my God. The
Put
LAPD
us
buddy
all
would
in
be
a
like,
chain.
get me the fuck off this chain.
So anyway, my dad and his brothers end up moving to the United States and they decide to start an emerald business. My father moves to Colombia.
They own mines.
They own mines, emerald mines.
In the 80s, at the peak of Pablo Escobar.
I remember traveling to Colombia at the age of 4, and I just remember seeing armed people all around my father and like just Uzis, like automatic weapons,
Sure.
like not even semis, and just thinking to myself, wait, is this what everyone's dad does for, like, I was so confused.
Yeah.
Because like all my friends' fathers were like doctors or lawyers in South Florida.
Yeah.
And my dad was like just literally in the middle of the jungles of Colombia, surrounded by dangerous people. He was always a larger than life guy when I was growing up. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 6, and I talk about my relationship after that. But what I also talk about in the book, and which we've never spoken about, was I haven't seen my dad in about 20 years. And I get a call one day while I'm doing Gutenberg, which you were so gracious enough to come to.
Yeah. So much fun.
And my dad is in New Jersey, and he says, I'd love to come see your show.
This is like a couple years ago?
This is last year.
Oh my God.
And I said, okay. And he's got, I think he's on his 3rd or 4th family now.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I come alone. I'll send a car for you. And why don't you stay the night?
Wow. That's nice.
And I was very anxious about it.
Yeah.
And he comes to the theater. I'm looking for him in the audience. I don't see him.
Are you like 8 years old all the way back to being
100%.
8? Yeah.
It's
Of course.
Halloween night. Andrew and I, after the show, decide to dress up as the Mommy Dearest characters. He's the Faye Dunaway character. I'm the daughter.
Is he holding a coat hanger?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I look at Andrew after the show and I said, I need you to come with me. I'm very nervous about this. So we go out, both dressed as women.
It's an interesting way
which
to...
my dad. And by the way, like all of this is to say, my father's never seen me on stage in my life.
Wow.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm talking about even as a kid.
Yeah.
He was not the dad who came to my shows.
Right.
So this is the first time my father's ever seen me on stage. And I come out and I see a man that I know immediately and yet don't recognize at all. It was both exhilarating and really painful.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to interact. He looked frailer than I remember.
Was pretty old, right?
He's in his late 70s, but again, like the gregarious person that I am, that's from my father.
Yeah.
I think about my dad as this like invincible figure,
Force of nature.
a force of nature.
Yeah.
And he's not that.
Yeah.
So Andrew is amazing. We're sort of helping me navigate it. I get in the car with my dad. He's hard of hearing. English is his like third language. So he's repeating to me that he was telling everybody that he was sitting next to that I'm his son, and he was so proud.
Yeah.
But also I could tell he understood none of the fucking jokes in the show and just like saw everyone laughing and so started laughing with him.
Great show for him. It's almost Cirque du Soleil. You could not speak English and very much understand what is happening in that.
Yeah, it's just unbridled chaos.
Yes.
We go back to my place and I order us some sandwiches, and I realize that like I'm the father
Yeah, of
Yes.
course.
in this
yes.
situation.
Mhm.
Well, you've always been, really.
Mm-hmm. We start talking. He starts telling me about his life. It's incredibly awkward at first and then incredibly easy
Yeah. Because you're blood.
because we're blood. And then I start to fall back into like being a kid again. I don't know how to describe it. Like
Yeah.
I start to feel like I'm in my 8-year-old body and I'm talking to this man who approximates my father. And I can also tell that there's extreme memory loss going on
From him.
from him.
And Ken, really quick, were you able to detect, could you sense this was a mission of repair or just curiosity?
I think it was neither of those things. I think it was my son's in New York. I'm here. I'd like to see him, and we'll go from there. That's what I think it was. I think it
Okay.
was as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that my father loves me dearly. What he did to me and my family doesn't support that,
Align, yeah.
but he has never not expressed his own form and his own idea of love. So we're sitting there, we're talking, and it starts to become very apparent to me that, like, he's lost everything.
Oh,
He is all of it, and he's living on welfare.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
and
because he was a kind of high roller.
he owned, I think, the largest producing mine in Colombia. We're talking like, had he held on to that, we would have been billionaires.
Wow.
Right.
And lost it all.
Sounds like he was easily distractible too.
He was easily distractible. There was, as there always is, he and his partners fucked each other and
Yeah.
all paid the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and this guy who I always was like, oh my God, he's invincible, is now like Al Pacino in Godfather 3.
Yeah.
The next morning, I hug him. I get him a car, and I give him his jacket, and he goes, "What's that?" And I said, "It's your jacket." And he goes, "It's not my jacket." And I go, "That's your jacket, Dad." He goes, "It's not my jacket." And then I put it on him and I say, "This is the jacket you came in." And it occurs to me, perhaps this is the last time, my father recognizes me. I don't know. He's not the kind of guy who will go to a doctor.
Mhm.
And it seems to me like there's, something debilitating going on. And I love him, and so I wish he would. But I'm also having this moment of going, is this it? Is this where this journey ends for us?
Right.
And if it does, I'm so grateful I had this.
Yeah.
It took me, I lied to my mom. I didn't tell her that
You had seen him.
I didn't tell her that I saw him.
That's a pattern, because I think one of the meanest things he did to you without probably any awareness that it was mean. He's left when Josh is a kid. Josh has no idea why they got divorced. Mom throws him out. And then when he's 8, 2 years later, he invites him to the Sheraton. By the way, that was the place when we were kids.
Oh, it was.
Do you remember the Sheraton?
Of course.
My mom took us there to tell us she was divorcing my third dad.
Why is that? Why was that?
That was like the Four Seasons for us.
Yeah, it was.
So you get invited to the Sheraton.
And he says, surprise, and introduces me to his mistress and their son.
From Colombia.
From Colombia.
He learns he's got,
Okay.
the dad had another family.
I didn't know what to
And
do
you're
with
8.
that. I'm 8. I start spiraling.
And he swears you to secrecy. This is the cruelty that he probably
And-
wasn't even aware of.
No, he was oblivious.
Yeah.
Like, my dad doesn't operate
Yeah.
in like familiar ways that we understand responsible parents.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, because man, did it fucking teach me how to be a great parent.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
have the same sort of experience of like learning from mistakes and vowing to never fucking repeat those mistakes.
Yeah. Can I share one part of my story? Because I
Please.
happen to be writing about it just recently. Even at a young age, I was a little skeptical. So I would go to his house on the weekends, and he was so loving. Like, that's a gift I had. He was so affectionate. For a dad in the 80s, he hugged us and kissed us and
So did
snuggled
my
us
dad.
and showered
Yeah.
us in love. And then he wasn't around. So there's this like huge disconnect from like what I would feel in that moment, but then the actions afterwards never matched it. And it just created this huge dissonance where I'm like, what is this? It's like I'm there and I appear to be the most important thing in the world. And then I don't see him for 3 weeks and he doesn't show up for my brother's field hockey games. We all know is very important to my brother. And also, how's he living this kind of rich lifestyle and we're fucking dead broke? That's also, how's that happening? So there's all this really just confusing, how do I compute the messages versus the actions?
The exact same story.
Yeah.
That is it, Dax, except my dad would go months at a time
Right.
and
Right.
would live in another country.
Right.
And so
With one of his many other.
with one of his many other, fuck buddies.
It makes love so confusing for the rest of your life, I assume.
100%.
That is not, who's to say what's real and what's not real? But then that's the question you live with forever. What is real?
I vividly remember sitting at the window in my home in Hollywood, Florida, waiting for my father to show up on countless nights where he never came. And my mom knew he wasn't going to come,
Yeah.
and he would tell me he was coming, and I believed he was coming, and then he wouldn't show up. And I talk about this in my book too, which is the sort of the kismet of my Disney journey, is the one place my father would always take me when I was growing up was Disney World.
Wow.
And so Disney World became a symbol of my relationship with my father,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and Disney escapism became the salve that was healing any sort of absence that I felt in my life.
I also think it sets you up for this pattern you then replicate in life where it's just like highs, lows,
Exactly.
highs, lows, right? Because
Exactly.
the dads are always winning you back over. They feel bad. Now, whether they are consciously aware of it or subconsciously, but yeah, when they have you, they're putting on this incredible show and they're going to make up for all this time. So it's like you get pretty used to these like insane spikes of love bombiness and then like nothing.
Disappearance.
For me, it can kind of fuck up all relationships going forward because it's like this is the pattern of love.
Yeah, it can. It had the opposite effect on me and my brothers. I have such an incredible mother. My mom was so badass. And despite the emotional shrapnel that I felt as a result of her divorce,
Mhm.
and there was emotional shrapnel,
Mhm.
and I've had to heal and talk to her about that and forgive that because I didn't understand at the time that her mood swings and her anger and my brothers having moved to college, I was the only one in the house who was absorbing that.
Mm.
And that was scary.
Yeah.
And that was lonely,
In the birth of comedy.
and the birth of comedy.
Big
Yeah.
time.
And it was a birth of comedy because as a result of her pain and her depression, I somehow found this weapon where I was able to make her laugh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's something. That's something.
Yeah.
And tapping into that and then making that a career came from the seeds of that despair, as it often does, I would imagine. But that was hard.
When you were choosing to honor your dad's request to keep the other family secret, was that out of loyalty to him, or were you afraid of how that would make your mom feel to know
100% the latter.
the latter, right?
Mm.
Yeah. You're responsible for mom's mood as a little boy.
Yeah.
You're protecting her feelings from finding out about the other family.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of adulting going on.
I grew up too fast.
Yeah.
I grew up too fast, and I didn't grow up enough. I'm jealous of my friends who had both parents till they were 18 at least. And then like a later divorce, I think is sometimes maybe better, sometimes maybe worse.
Yeah.
For me, it was very different experience than it was for my brothers.
Right.
My brothers were 10 and 8 years older, and they got the family journey.
Yeah. Same with my brother.
Mine was ripped away at 6.
Yeah.
And you don't have the skills to process that. And so I became very destructive. I would lie constantly to my mom. I was doing horribly in school. It is almost impossible to flunk first grade. I was getting F's and D's.
Of course you were with what's going on
all of
around
it.
you.
Regulating with food enters the picture.
That's when I started to balloon. And I was also actually physically destructive. I remember a day where I took something in the back of my mom's car, the little cigarette things that you would push down, and I started burning holes in like the back of her car. And my mom could not figure out what the fuck was going on with me. And it was this absolute burden on my shoulders of having to keep this secret and lashing out because I didn't know what else to do. And my mom finally sat down and said, something's got to change, got me to speak to a therapist. I was able to finally unburden this secret. I was able to finally find like some sort of path for myself to navigate my own very difficult emotions, and then was able to overcome all of the chaos.
And did the therapist tell you it was okay for you to tell your mom?
The therapist did. And I went through different therapists. There was when I was also like, this was a period where like I only wanted to sleep in my mom's room. I was afraid to sleep by myself. Like there was so much shit going on. So I had one therapist who told my mom to lock me in my room.
Oh boy.
Which is like,
that's cool.
And my mom, God bless her, is like, you're out of your fucking mind. Let's switch. And then I found this incredible woman who was able to talk to me as a child. And was able to get to why was I feeling so scared? Why was I feeling, I had this enormous fear of death. I was constantly afraid of dying. I was constantly afraid of like loss. It was just loss. And once I had a grasp on that, I was then able to take all of that and start to focus my energies on performance. And so my mom, to her benefit, found this local children's theater called the Hollywood Playhouse for the Performing Arts, signed me up, and that changed my life. Especially being overweight, I found that like the greatest superpower I had was making fun of myself and using that self-deprecation to win people over. And so I also parlayed it into popularity. I became class president. I became
You're kind of the king in high school.
I became sort of a king in high school. And I didn't fit the sort of physical bill of what that usually looks like.
Which makes it even that much better.
But funny is funny. And it attracts people. And I suddenly was like, okay, this is my high. This is what I'm going to lean into. Cut to me going to Carnegie Mellon drama for some reason.
Well, but really quick. You applied. So you're crushing. You're in AP classes. You're the class president. You're a 3-time champion. You apply to Northwestern. In fact, 8 of you from your school apply. And then you're going to go to Juilliard, or you apply to Juilliard. And then you get rejected from Northwestern, right? And you're like, oh, I can't wait to go commiserate with these other 7 dipshits who certainly didn't get in.
All
of
them
got in.
Class of 99. All got in except for me.
I love these reality checks every now and then, just when you're certain you're the king. I'm confused though, because in the book you go and you audition for Juilliard, and it seems you got in, but then you went to Carnegie Mellon.
I did not get into Juilliard.
Oh, you didn't?
I had the worst audition of my life.
But you said I Trojan horse my way
into Carnegie Mellon.
Oh, that was your thing for...
That was CMU.
Sorry, tell me about Juilliard.
Juilliard, I go in there and I am bullish. I'm like, I got this.
After you didn't get into Northwestern?
Northwestern is all about grades and SAT.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And like at the time, I had gotten like a 1350 on my SAT.
It's not bad.
So I was thinking like, oh, I'm shooing. But like all of my friends had gotten like 1400 or above.
Oh.
So Northwestern was out of the picture. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. Juilliard is all about, my backup Juilliard is all about like the audition. So I go in there and I do Marty by Patty Chayefsky. And that was the piece that I had gotten 3rd place in my sophomore year of high school.
Which is also a beautiful story. Someone forces you to do drama, basically.
Correct.
And
for
you
the first
do
time.
it, and you fall in love with that as well.
So I go, I do it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm fucking killing this. And like, I describe the 3 people auditioning me as like the ring wraiths of Lord Sauron. Like it is it is really, truly like these hooded kind of figures who are just not willing to express at all. And so the head of this cabal,
I admire the lack of people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine just watching something and saying nothing?
But you have to think about this. These are also the same people at that time who had like, Kevin Kline and Robin Williams and like all of the greats come through. So they don't fucking care about like who I am.
They also get a high off of that, off of being so
100%.
stoic and not.
So their stoicism absolutely gets to me.
Mhm.
And then he says, Michael Kahn, who's running it, goes, do you have anything else you want to do for us today? And I said, you have a classical piece. And I do something from Henry VIII. And I forgot all of the words
No.
and start improving
Oh my God.
in iambic pentameter to a man who literally is responsible for not only Juilliard, but a Shakespeare festival in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
And so
I was sweating.
I look at them after I finish and I go, I will see myself out. Good luck with Juilliard. And I go outside and I start crying. And I look at my mom and I go, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'll never forget, we were walking through Central Park, and as we like crossed the threshold into the park, it started snowing. And for some reason, I was like, I think it's going to be okay. And then I applied to Carnegie Mellon and was like feeling the weight of all the rejections.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that I could apply as a director. And when you apply as a director, you have to do an audition for some reason to sort of communicate that you understand an actor's journey as a director. So I go and I do this audition, and the guy who runs it, Greg Lahane, goes, are you sure you want to be a director? And I said, I mean, why? What are you thinking?
Yeah, good answer.
And he's like, well, I'd like to share this with my acting colleague, Tony McKay. And so Tony comes in and watches and he goes, you want to direct? And I said, I guess I could be convinced to act.
I love directing, but I don't know.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
So I completely Trojan horse my way into theater.
Wow.
And then tried to Trojan horse my way into musical theater. That's where they drew the line. And my class was crazy. It was Leslie Odom Jr., Josh Groban,
Wow.
Rory O'Malley. So that is how I ended up there.
Also, what's a conservatory? Like you explain it in the book.
So conservatory is basically like Hogwarts for drama kids. Like it is.
You don't have to do shit other than act,
You
right?
just act. In fact, I was desperate to get, here's again, my absolute jealousy of expertise was I wanted more academia. And I didn't get more academia. I got movement class 1, 2, 3, and 4. I got voice class 1, 2, 3, 4. And so like you basically had to take 7 to 10 classes that were academic in nature during the duration of your studies.
Wow.
And that wasn't enough for me. So I'm more jealous of the liberal arts.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Mind expanding,
generalized.
understanding.
So I definitely would never trade in my experience, but I did miss out on sort of a fuller body of learning.
But I think the group that went sounds so fun because you describe a night. It was a 3-story dormitory and there's a party and you drink a half a fifth of tequila and then you piss your jeans and then you take a 20-minute nap.
Have a threesome.
Regroup,
Wow,
go to the
what a
first floor,
night.
hook up with someone, go to the third floor, hook up with someone, and then make love to someone on the second
Yeah,
floor.
it was
all
fucking
in the
crazy.
same night. And you say it's not because of your
No,
prowess.
it's not because of my prowess. It's because I was the only straight person in my class. at
what
that
a
point.
blessing.
And so like it was just a fuck fest.
Yeah.
And you know,
Lovely.
I lost 100 pounds in college. I substituted my food addiction for sex and
drink.
alcohol.
Yeah.
And so like that just became sort of like, the chaos of that period for me.
I'm imagining from your high school experience to this experience, I don't know how on earth one would resist that.
It was a complete body transformation. And like, I dyed my hair blonde.
Sure.
I became like, it was
We're gonna
going
need a
through like a
pic.
fuck. Oh, there's definitely, I will show you a pic. I lost myself a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happened was,
By the way, I think you should.
That's what college is about.
no, in a bad way. I lost myself.
Okay. Yeah, but I think you should lose yourself in a bad
So
way.
I started to get extreme anxiety. I was being looked at in a different way, and I didn't know how to handle that attention. And I also didn't know this was me as a blonde.
Wow. We got to show the cam.
baby, Yeah.
So this
This guy lives for 3 ways.
is
Wow. And okay, so for the
Recent Gad.
listeners, you still have the dark eyebrows, but the hair is quite blonde.
Yeah, hair's platinum blonde.
Fuck
So
yes.
I felt like a stranger in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I was not used to being attractive.
Yeah.
I was not used to being sought after. I didn't know how to operate in that body. And I also didn't know how to play the roles in that body.
Okay, Josh, really quick. This is why I'm saying it's a blessing that happened to you then, because I've brought this up many times on here. It's a trope in Hollywood, which is you've got a lot of people end up getting enormous amounts of status, and that wasn't their experience all growing up, and they don't really know how to handle
Right.
it. And I've seen it most often lead to this bizarre version of misogyny. It's like these dudes have all these women that like them, and they don't really trust it, and they kind of hate them for it. Why didn't you like me when I'm younger? I mean, I've seen that pattern
Right.
materialize a bunch of times for people who got that attention and status
Like
late
Yuval.
in life. Like Yuval. Did you say Yuval?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know why I didn't say him by name. We're all
Yeah.
thinking it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yuval's husband is gorgeous. So
Oh,
yeah, he joins him when he comes.
But you've always been.
But
a
I think
stud.
like had you not had that thing then, you would have had an opportunity to do it later.
Right. It's true.
Why does that result in anxiety? Just because you're very disconnected, your identity is kind of fractured?
I felt like a visitor in my body. I felt like an alien taking over another person's body. I don't know how to describe it. I had my eyes, I had my ears, I had my voice, but it was not me.
You were playing like a character.
I was playing a character.
Yeah. Cool
and
guy character.
And by the way, I think it's why I continue to struggle with weight at this point in my life, because I really didn't know how to be that guy.
Yeah.
And it's
no practice.
I had no practice.
Yeah.
Now for health, I want to lose weight.
Sure.
And desperately trying to. But it's like that was really, really strange. It was really strange.
Yeah. This is something I also want to bring up, and I don't know how to tiptoe around it, but I'm just going to be dead honest. I was just thinking of you on my trip to Mexico City. So I'm with somebody who's on a version of a GLP-1, who's loving it.
Yeah.
And he more often is telling me like, it's so weird to see this stuff and not have that pull I normally have.
Yeah.
And I literally thought, if you listen to our first episode, we do 20 minutes on what the perfect day of eating would be. From your point of view, what you would start the day with, we got a General
right.
Chow's chickens
Right,
in there.
right,
We got
right.
everything bagel. Like we went through the whole thing. You're going to finish the night with sushi, but it'll be a lot of tempura.
Right.
We did 20 minutes on it. And hearing the amount of joy you get from that, I literally thought in my head, I wonder if there'll be people when GLP-1s are virtually over the counter, if they'll choose not to do that because so much of the joy in their life is that they don't want that relationship where it's not appealing.
I'm on a GLP-1.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Has it limited your joy at all?
It has suppressed in a great way that noise.
Yeah.
And so like when I wake up, I feel hunger pains.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of that is psychological.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what this does is it takes away that signal.
Yeah. It's even working on addicts. and
It's
stuff.
working on addicts.
Yeah.
It is a miracle drug.
It truly
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I was on a different drug that caused me diverticulitis,
Okay, no good.
and I had lost 40 pounds.
Okay.
And I was really bummed out because it was working incredibly for me, and I had to switch.
Yeah.
So like I'm, figuring out this new one.
Yeah.
And it is life-changing, but it also doesn't negate the fact that it can't be in the place of having a healthy relationship with food,
Right.
and it can't be in the place of having a healthy relationship with exercise.
Well, would it be fair to say it's treating the symptom?
Yeah.
It is treating this. And by the way, this is the first time I've opened up about this.
Oh, okay. And I didn't mean to put you on that
No.
spot.
I'm actually really happy that I'm opening about this because I'm having my own journey with it.
Sure.
Sometimes I feel like I'm cheating myself by doing this.
Right.
And I know
you shouldn't.
And I know a lot of people who aren't overweight like I am who are taking it. And then I feel like, okay, I should be able to do this because I need it for health.
Yeah, someone's shaving off the last 3 pounds.
Which is, I think, becoming ubiquitous
is.
now.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'm not one to pass judgment. I think to each their own. I think that the problem becomes when it prevents others who need it medically, like myself, from getting it.
Yeah.
That's where I get upset.
Yeah,
that
I
makes
like to
sense.
evaluate it in a world where it's completely ubiquitous and it's available. I think that's where you
Yes.
need to place this theoretical thought process when you're going to decide if you're judgmental.
That's
because I don't
100%.
give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if anyone does anything like that that's safe and doesn't have many side effects that makes them feel better. I don't know why I wouldn't want that for somebody.
Would you judge someone for taking suppressants for nicotine? Would you judge someone for taking antidepressants for anxiety?
No.
This is medication. It's treating a disease.
And it's making someone's life, not everyone, I'm not saying everyone should be on it. I'm by no means saying that. But for the people I know who are on it, it's making their life a lot better.
Yes.
Why would I not want that for them?
My wife is not thrilled that I take it.
Oh, really?
She's not thrilled that I take it.
Because she's worried you're not going to confront the core thing that's
Correct.
driving
Yeah.
it.
Correct.
But again, that's positioned as binary. It's either or. It's like either you choose this route or you choose
Yes.
to confront.
Correct.
Yes. But you obviously can do both.
Yeah, or I divorce her.
Right.
So it's got to
Well,
be
we'll
like,
see, yeah.
it's got to be.
Seems like you need her if she gets out of the fire. and you
That's the
can't.
thing. Right
Yeah.
now, I need her this week.
Unfortunately.
And then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
This is not your wife, but I can easily see a hypothetical
Right.
where someone fell in love with someone that was larger, and there is perhaps some shadow in their mind that says, well, I wonder if they had all the options if they would have still picked me. And now they're going to be thin and they're going to have all the options. And there's fear behind that.
I mean, I think that that's fair. It's always fair.
Some people hate that when their partner becomes a gym rat and they're in great shape.
Yeah.
They're like scared all of a sudden that they won't be enough for this person
No,
now that seemingly has a lot of
I think
options.
that that's very fair. At the end of the day, my wife is so much hotter than me that like I
Like,
should
I'm
be
not
more
worried. She's
I
not
should be
worried.
more concerned about like her.
Yeah, there's no version of you that still wouldn't be dying to be with her.
No.
Another generous sort of take on that is that they're worried that their identity will shift completely.
That was my other big thing. It's like
yours did when as you're saying.
I've always been the funny fat guy. What can I be the funny skinny guy?
Right.
Can I be the hot leading man?
Right.
Can I be I don't know that I can be those things. I know I could be those things. I don't know that people would accept me as those
Interesting.
things. And that's always really hard
Scary.
to like we get typecast.
Yeah.
We do a thing and people see us as that thing. And I've been very blessed that I continue to challenge myself to not be typecast, to do things that nobody expects.
Yeah.
Listen, Josh, I would honor this fear if I thought you were a one-trick pony who fell through tables as their main deal.
Right.
You're like a crazy good dramatic actor.
Thank you, man.
You're an improv genius. You sing like a motherfucker. Olaf is you. All blessings to all the writing, but that creation is Josh Gad. Like that fear for you should be nowhere in sight.
Thank you. I also think I have a healthier relationship with my brain than I did back then.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so like now I think, as I go on this journey of weight loss, I'm not as worried about that because my primary goal is I want to be there for my kids.
Yes.
Everything else is bullshit.
You also make your own shit.
Yeah.
That's part of your
Yeah.
genius. You do your own thing, so no one can take that from you. You'll keep doing your own thing.
I appreciate that. At the very least, I'll
You have that.
do more of this. More
Exactly.
of your podcast.
You can come
but
But I don't get
Go
paid
for
for this, do
once
I?
every 5
I
years.
actually am going to give you $100 for coming in last
Really?
minute. Yeah, I had already
Wow.
planned on it.
That's
It's
in
in
like-
I put my billfold in my pocket.
Is it in cash or is it like?
It's in cash. It's old
so I don't need to
fashioned.
write it off. But now I do because it's on
now it's-
record.
Yeah.
No, but then you'll say you gave it back to me after and it was just a bit.
Oh,
But
smart.
really, you'll be fucking blowing a hole in that hundo on your way home. You're gonna come home with so many trinkets
What
to
if
your
that's
wife.
how the IRS takes me down because of this $100 that was promised to me on this bullshit?
No, but I can gift you up to $18,000 tax free.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So tell me about the gap between graduating from CMU and then I guess it would be Putnam.
I was singularly focused on one thing. I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Same.
That's all I wanted. In my fucking fragile little brain, I somehow thought going to Carnegie Mellon Drama was enough to audition
Fast
and
pass.
be accepted on.
Sure.
See, I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I started immediately out of college putting together a reel for SNL. I got Ron Howard to open the video. He said, live from Josh's VCR.
Oh my God.
How'd you get that done?
Bryce Dallas Howard is my best friend.
Okay.
Because she married my actual best friend, Seth Gable, from when I was 4.
Oh.
And so she let me borrow her father, who was very willing to help me out. And it was incredible. It did not
Didn't
get
work.
the job
Open the
done.
doors you thought it might.
So I kept sending in tapes for like 3 years. Didn't get on. Signed up for the Groundlings. Did that for 2 years.
You did that for 2 years.
I did it for 2 years.
What
and
years?
I did the first 2 classes.
Yeah.
They didn't accept me into the 3rd level.
Okay.
And then I start to like get little jobs here and there. I'm sort of like at the breaking point where, and I talked about this on my last time, so I'm not going to revisit all of this, but I basically am like, I'm quitting acting. I'm not making money. I had met my then girlfriend, now wife Ida, and I was like, I need to become a lawyer. So I started applying to law schools. My mom, as you know already, basically is like, you're a fucking coward if you do that.
Yeah.
I audition for this show called 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And I get it, but I got the San Francisco version.
Okay.
And I don't know what I'm thinking because I have no work, but I turn it down.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
They are done with me. They are fucking furious. And somehow I find out they're replacing Dan Flogler, the Tony Award winner for the show. And I get
Call
them
them
to
back.
give me
Wow.
another chance, but they're like not having it. I go in, I do my audition, goes fine. I then do the music audition, goes fine. I do the dance audition. It's an unmitigated disaster. I look like a fucking beached whale learning
Oh,
to
God.
swim again. And then I somehow get a phone call that I'm supposed to go to the theater that night. I go to this callback. It's me and this other guy, Jordan, who's on Broadway doing Avenue Q. I have nothing on my resume. I have 1 episode of ER, and I have
You were just
the Groundlings
summarily
to first-
released from the grounds.
Yes.
And you were a stud in college.
and I had yeah, and I fuck a lot of people in college. It's out of necessity for
First
that.
floor, second floor, third
It's just
floor.
every fucking
Elevator.
basement. We didn't even have a fucking
Smoke
basement.
coming out of the pulleys.
So this guy goes first. He's out there for like 10 minutes. I come out. I see 30 people who are all sitting in the Circle in the Square Theater. They're all directors, producers, investors. I crack a joke. I start my scene. I get a minute and a half in, and the director, James Lapine, and I talk about this in the book, says, Josh, can I see you up here for a second? And I go, okay.
All of your teachers sound like Phil Hoffman.
Oh, Philip Seymour.
You know, I do
Philip
basically
Seymour Hoffman.
one. I mean, we've established this. I do one impression. It's Phil Hoffman. Everything else derives from that. So, yeah, Josh, can I want to talk to you. Come here.
She's a great baby.
So James calls me up, dismisses everybody, and he says, "I don't think you take this seriously."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "I don't think you take this seriously." And I said, "Well, what makes you think that?" And he goes, "This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Everybody wants to do a Broadway show. And your first instinct is to come out and crack a joke." And I said, "Well, forgive me, but there are 30 people sitting in front of me who are about to decide my fate. And I figured I had 2 options. I could either break the ice or projectile vomit on you and your colleagues. So forgive me for choosing the former."
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying it jokingly. I'm like super fucking pissed.
Yeah,
Right.
yes.
And then he starts to lecture me about the fact that I don't have the discipline in craft to take this job.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
And I look at him and I say, all due respect, you can tell me I'm not right for the role. You can tell me that I am not your favorite actor. You can fucking tell me I'm not funny. For you to sit there and tell me and judge my discipline after I literally spent 4 years in conservatory, spent every last penny that I had to learn my craft, to study my craft, to stick with my craft through thick and thin, that is not something you get to take away from me.
Mm.
And I said, good luck with your show. I appreciate this. Thank you for the opportunity. I walk out. I congratulate Jordan on getting the role. I go back to my hotel, the Sheraton.
Ah, ding, ding, ding.
No, actually, it was a Hilton. That was a Hilton.
Oh.
Well, they kind of
Yeah, it's either Sheraton or Hilton.
Modern day Sheridan.
And I called my mom up and she said, how did it go? I said, didn't happen.
As bad as it could.
As bad as it could. I'm coming home. And I get a call from my then agent, Hannah Roth. And she says, hey. And I said, hey, I'm not really in the mood to talk right now. And she goes, well, you have 2 tickets to go see Spelling Bee tonight. And I said, why the fuck would I want to go see that show? And at this point, I had never seen the show. I didn't have enough money to get a ticket to see the show.
Yeah.
So I'd never gone to see it. I was just approximating what I thought it should be.
Yeah.
And I said, why the fuck would I want to go see that? And she goes, well, the director feels that you should probably see it before you start rehearsals in 2 weeks. 'cause you got-
Unreal.
Wow.
So it was a mind fuck.
What was your all's post conversation of that initial?
I write about this in the book. My relationship with James is now wonderful. We had a dinner where we talked through everything,
Yeah.
and he was incredible about it, but he was horrible to me during that process.
Oh, he was.
The whole show?
The whole show. I was a punching bag.
Really?
It was brutal.
Was he so upset he was losing Dan? Is that what it was?
I think that was a big part of it. When we sat down and we discussed it and we had it out, and he was so gracious and has since apologized to me for what that experience was. You know, he said I needed to get my ass kicked. I agree with that.
Mm.
I don't think the psychological warfare was necessary,
Yeah.
but I agree with it. But like, dude, I would come back and I would smoke a fucking, like every night, a full bong of like hashish because I was so fucking scared. Like I was just
Wow.
fucked. I was always in a state of fear, panic, and it just didn't get better.
Yeah.
And like, I couldn't wait to leave. And the cast was awesome, but also like they missed Dan.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
And
a
like,
hard position.
it sucks being a replacement
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's everyone's experience, but like I go out of my way to be kind to my replacements because of what that experience was.
Yeah.
But it fucking sucked. And I would do it all again if I could because it taught me resilience.
Yeah, if you can
Yeah.
get through that.
And it was, I think we coddle a lot now. And I think actors who are breaking in, you need to get your ass kicked, man, because it's a fucking brutal business.
Yeah.
And for me, I learned from every minute of that, even though it wasn't all, you know, roses and candy, it was everything I needed at the time to prepare me for a career that is filled with so many more lows than highs. And once you have that, you can handle the
Yeah,
rest.
absolutely.
And there were times when I didn't think I could get through it. There were times when I was like constantly, I would literally have anxiety attacks because James would call a rehearsal that I knew was just about putting me in my place and keeping me in a box. And I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable improving. I didn't feel comfortable like being my funniest.
In fact, with your confidence.
I had real problems with my confidence.
Yeah.
That happened again on Book of Mormon.
It did?
How?
It did.
Because I saw that.
I talk about this in my book as well. So, you know, my director there, Casey, who's brilliant and amazing, he came in after Jason Moore, who we had workshopped the show with for 3 years, left the project. And so like he was coming into a situation that was like, hey, we're going to Broadway. It's your turn to get it up and get it all going in a couple of months. And he wanted to put his stamp on it. And based on my experience with Spelling Bee, I think I had my like guard up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
like,
got a chip on your shoulder
don't
maybe a little bit?
fuck with me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I am not to be fucked with here. And I think he felt that. And I think he, in turn, sometimes did not love that I was basically doing whatever the fuck I wanted on that stage.
Yeah.
And he wanted to control that. And for right or wrong, you know, it was his job.
Right.
And I respect that. But we definitely butted heads. And it
Wow.
was sometimes very unpleasant. And Andrew and I, you know, sometimes got into it because
Oh, wow.
I think a lot of what was going on during that time was, you know, Reynolds and I were suddenly like, we went from 0 to 60.
Yeah.
And we had this entire show on our backs and we were not prepared for what it became.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was not ready for that kind of pressure. And I think Andrew wasn't. And so like we felt sometimes like we were being pitted against each other. And you're in the midst of like Tony season and you're both vying for like that award.
Were you guys nominated for the same
We
thing?
were both nominated
for
the
is
same
Yeah,
thing.
what the hell did you do with that?
And we both lost. It was a fucking roller coaster.
How old were you at that time?
I was 30.
Okay.
I had just turned 30. And Andrew and I now talk about it, you know, laughing about like how fucking stupid and petty all of the
But it's a
little
pressure
bullshit
cooker.
was. But it was a pressure cooker. And it was so funny because going back and then doing Gutenberg, we had the complete opposite experience because we're in our 40s and don't give a shit about like anything anymore because we've had so many life experiences.
The bucket's
that, like,
been filled up.
all of that stuff feels so insignificant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because like our relationship has never been stronger. We came through the other side of it. We had the most amazing experience doing that show and being a part of a pop cultural phenomenon, the likes of which, you know, musical comedy theater hadn't seen since the producers, and I think hasn't seen
Well,
since.
it's just
I agree.
Hamilton and that.
But in terms of comedies, right?
Yeah.
In terms of comedies, we're in a rarity, right? We are a rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that was hard. That was
Yeah.
really hard. I have since been able to look back at all of it and own my part in all of it.
What's your part?
I was a cocky fucking guy. Like I was a cocky guy, and part of the cockiness was
Convincing yourself?
a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It was a defense mechanism.
Yeah, you're scared.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared and I'm not good enough. I'm
Mhm.
scared and I'm not funny enough.
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm not worthy of the attention.
Yeah.
I'm scared that I am going to let people down. I'm scared I'm going to let myself down.
You'll be revealed at some point.
I'll be revealed.
Yeah.
And so I really peacocked and
Yeah.
puffed up.
Sure. You know what's weird? I've never, till this moment, considered, although I experienced it being on stage at the Groundlings, but where theater is so different than doing a movie is you don't really know while filming the movie who's popping and stealing it.
Yeah.
But on a stage, boy, the fucking verdict's in every 30 seconds. And it's very obvious what the response to the crowd is. So if you're someone that's still doing a great job, but you're third in the crushing it, like, you know it.
Do you know how fucking petty I was? I am hungry and starving for love and adoration. I'll never forget being so mad. This is so ridiculous. But I was so mad that Andrew got the last bow and I didn't.
Sure.
And that is such a fucking
I know.
joke that I would
I love
even
that
like
you're admitting that.
that I would even think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because he clearly was the one who should get the last bow. But at the time I was like, I've been doing this show for 4 years. I've been here from the beginning. You know, I'm the funnier role.
Yeah.
I wasn't any of those things.
Yeah.
I was involved longer. That's it.
Well, if I can make an excuse for you a little bit, or not even an excuse, but
No,
more of an
you don't make an
explanation.
excuse. I was a real piece of shit.
No, it's,
And I deserve what's happening to me.
Yes. Isn't it true you're at fault for these high winds that just set LA ablaze? This is the same thing with Black folks, with women. In your mind, if you're not the best, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah. But also you grew up, you said it earlier, you grew up with a huge fear of loss. That does not go away. I have the exact same thing.
It doesn't go away. And also, I have always felt like a fraud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have an absolute case of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And when I go and I put myself out there, I am so scared I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
And I am so scared that like what I think is funny, other people won't find funny. And if I fail even one person, I don't think about the 1,000 people who enjoyed it. I think about the one person who hated it.
Also, do you give it the power that like when I fail publicly, it's actually going to be so powerful, the failure, that it'll make you go back and reevaluate everything you thought thus far?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, like it has the power to not only fail in that moment, but erase everything that happened before.
It is to the point now that I can't even watch anything I'm in because I judge it so harshly and so critically
Yeah.
that I feel like a fraud.
Yeah.
And it was actually the beauty and the reason that I went back to Broadway and did a show with Andrew was I needed that again. I
Yeah.
needed to put myself out there in the most vulnerable way at the age of 40 and have this guy who is the single funniest fucking human being I've ever worked alongside, other than the two of you,
Thank you
even
for
though we've
that.
never worked together.
Is it a lie because you haven't worked with us?
Well, no,
or-
it's honest. And so I needed that. I needed my ass kicked. And the difference between when we did Book of Mormon and we did Gutenberg was being on the other side of that and no longer focused about like any of the little
Dumb
shit,
stuff.
Yeah.
any of the dumb shit. I was able to just enjoy and do a trust
That's
exercise
awesome.
every night. And it was fucking incredible.
That's the thing. The ultimate victim ends up being you because you are robbed of the experience.
Yes.
So that whole experience you had, which is among 10 experiences on Broadway like that, you didn't get to experience
I didn't.
because you were so in the future and so behind in all these places other than this bizarre gift that doesn't really come around for people ever in
Yeah.
this business. And yeah, you can run the risk of missing the whole thing.
It's funny. I think in a certain way, you need to go through that, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm at an age now where none of that is a factor anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've learned these lessons, I now, every job that I do, every day I take in and I give gratitude and I am fucking savoring it. And you read about like stories like Mandy Patinkin talking about like he was so miserable to others and to himself for so long.
Mm.
And like my experience of working with Mandy was the complete opposite. I've never
Yeah.
met a more giving person.
Yeah.
And I think that we all, in a weird way, have to go through that, not just in this industry, in our lives.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You have to experience that.
Everyone with coworkers knows this.
It's okay to go through all of that as long as you come out the other side acknowledging it.
Yeah.
I'm finally at a place, maybe too late, but I'm finally at a place of acknowledgement to say, oh, no. I was my own worst enemy in many of these situations.
Yeah.
I was not present. I was afraid to be told no because that meant that I had to concede I was doing something wrong.
Proving you didn't belong there.
And that was a waste. It was a waste of one of the greatest years of my life. I wanted to get the fuck out of that show by the end because I was miserable.
Yeah.
And I am so bitter about that because if I could go back and do Book of Mormon right now, I would fucking leave this room and put that outfit on and get on stage because it was the greatest joy ever. And that comedy, it's for the ages. What Trey and Matt did is for the ages.
100%.
And I didn't appreciate it enough at the time.
I have two stupid questions unrelated to your book.
Yeah.
In my research, I discovered something that is an Alexander Payne movie waiting to happen. So your mother and stepfather were involved in a legal battle over a burial plot that was double booked. When I read that sentence, I was like,
It's insane. It's
if I was
insane.
pitched that
It's
as a studio executive, I go, guys, what? No. What in this day and age, people could be fighting over a burial plot?
My grandparents were buried in this South Florida cemetery, and my parents bought a plot next to them.
Yeah.
Look, my mother is the daughter of Holocaust survivors. There are books about this generation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is really difficult. The guilt is unthinkable.
Yeah.
And so like for her, for me, I'd be like, whatever, just like put me wherever. For her, it was such a loss. It was such a betrayal. And the way she found out, which was accidentally from a friend who was told, they gave that plot accidentally away, was so fucked. So It was a thing.
What is the solution to a problem like that?
Going
Do you exhume grandma and
well, going through it now, we are literally in the process of figuring out
what to do?
Because there is no good solution.
No, bury mom on top.
But you sort of like anticipate that like the fucking place will do its job. It has one job, which is like put the boxes where they're meant to go.
Where
Right?
they've
That's
been
your
sold.
only job.
yes.
So like, I don't know how they fucking mix and match that, but
This is like the backside of babies.
I was about to say, get
Yep.
swapped at the hospital.
yeah, yes.
You can imagine you going and paying your respects
should,
at the
by the
wrong
way,
grave for
we
years.
should write this. It's
I mean,
actually
it's
a great
incredible.
fucking Alexander
It
Payne
is.
movie.
It is.
There's no good solution. There's solutions. It's just all of them suck.
But that's a good device for a film. There's really no solution that's going to make anyone in this
Now I'm worried
scenario
about what the
happy.
second question is.
I would urge you to tell people about Picture Face Lizzie, because it's another book you have out. You're so prolific.
This has been a year of writing for me. I really wanted to challenge myself as a writer. So I wrote a Picture Face book, Picture Face Lizzie, a kid's book, which is basically about my girls are obsessed with what their friends have and
Yeah.
what they don't have.
Yeah.
And that a lot of times comes in the form of social media apps.
Mm.
So they are constantly asking us why their friends are allowed to have TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, and we put such restrictions on them. And that conversation was one that I was like, you know what? This is a conversation so many of my friends are having,
Yeah.
so many of my friends' kids are having, that it inspired me to write a book from the perspective of both the parents and the kids, talking about this new doll called a Picture Face Lizzie that is a mixture of an American Girl doll with the technological advances of having a social media application to it,
Yeah.
so that it's all encompassing. And this little kid, Eves, finds herself in a situation where all her friends do is talk about their Picture Face Lizzies, and she gets left behind.
Yeah.
And so she goes to her parents and she says, I want one. How can I get one? And they finally cave and they give it to her. And basically they say, just don't lose who you are in the process of playing with this.
Mhm.
Have a healthy relationship with it. She becomes consumed, absolutely consumed. But over the course of the book, she starts to miss the little things she used to do, the imaginative play,
Mm-hmm.
the sort of like experiential things. And so as she starts to sort of balance having this thing and doing these analog things, her friends become really attracted to what she's doing
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
and put their dolls down
Yeah.
and start doing that as well. And it's been really amazing to watch families sort of read this book together, experience this journey together,
Yeah.
and start a conversation from it.
Why did you get such a hack to narrate it?
Kristen Bell was the only option I had at the time because similarly,
Mhm.
I was canceled on by most of my previous guests. And that was without an apocalyptic event. I am doing what I can to give them a healthy relationship with technology, but also giving them the skills to be able to be without that technology. Because my concern is, I know I'm addicted to it.
Yeah, parents are giving their kids advice that they themselves are incapable of following, which is hysterical.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, we at least come from a background in which we didn't have any of this.
We can remember the halcyon days.
And I think part of the reason like my kids love Stranger Things and they love, your listeners are like, what kind of fucking dick shows their little kids Stranger Things but doesn't give them Snapchat? But
Oh, if you knew the shit I've shown my children.
yeah, but I mean, but we grew up with like,
In fact, when the fires were this again, I was making jokes, right?
yeah.
So the fires were getting closer and closer. They were a half mile from here and they were starting to evacuate. And I said to the 10-year-old Delta, and I said, well, Delta, if it looks like we're going down tonight, I'm going to let you drink wine and we're watching Pulp Fiction.
There you go.
This is such
I'm
great
not letting you
parenting,
leave
man.
this
It's such
planet
great
without seeing
parenting.
Pulp
Now,
Fiction.
look, I was fucking 6 when I watched Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, my grandpa took me on opening day to Scarface in 1981, and I was 6.
Oh,
and I watched a chainsaw cut
The
up.
worst thing that's ever happened to me is I was in college and I took my mother to go see Unfaithful, which the Diane Lane
yeah.
sex film.
Yes.
And I
Sex tape.
just like fucking snuff film. And I sat next to my mother as like she's getting rammed by like
Oopsies.
fucking like this really hot young man. And I was like, God damn, I should have just read the reviews.
You could do a
I
rewatch.
got to tell you one more moment. My memory of the Thomas Crown Affair, I'm like, that is the funnest movie. I can't wait to show at that time, Lincoln was probably 9. I'm like, I remember the sailboat scene and the cool this and the caper with the bowler hats and the Magritte paintings, blah, blah. Cut to, Brosnan's making love on the staircase.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there and it's going on for a long time.
Do you fast forward or are you?
No, we would go for it. I mean, sex isn't bad.
No, that's same. We showed Ava Rain Man and I forgot that there's a scene in Rain Man.
A hot one with Tom
where
Cruise.
He's just fucking away and like, and same with Jerry Maguire. Like there's a period of Tom Cruise movies where he's just,
was he like sprinting every movie?
He was sprinting or fucking.
Yeah, because he's a great kisser on screen.
He's a great kisser.
Got to give him that. Like he knows that's where some of the money is.
He's a great runner.
Yeah, he's an incredible runner and a great kisser. So anyways, we're watching this scene that's now, as I remember, maybe 30 seconds, which now feels like it's 11 minutes long.
Right.
And Lincoln just goes, do people do that? Have sex? And she goes, no, on the stairs. Because the absurdity is very clear to a 9-year-old. Like,
but by the way, that is a very good question.
Why would you lay on stairs?
Is that real?
And I go, actually, no. Only in movies do people have sex on the stairs.
God, that is so your child. That is so your fucking child.
Well, Joshy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This was nice. This was a good distraction.
And your book is phenomenal.
Thank you.
It's really, really, really good. It's very honest and it's very well written and it's quite funny. You're never more than 3 sentences away from a Josh Gad zinger. So it's fucking.
Why didn't you write a blurb on the back?
I was.
It's not too late. I could just send out a flyer.
Why don't I just write something in pen? And I wanted these book promotional things. You find a single armchair, you can go like, do you want this one that Dax shit on in pencil?
Did you consider calling it the Book of Gad?
I did at one point, actually.
Okay, that got taken off
there
the
were
table.
so many puns
So
available.
many.
How does
so
one
many.
pick?
You have so
How did
many.
And is that you?
That is truly me.
What is that from? What photo is that?
I did it exclusively for the book. They take photos now but they don't. Would you think that they like pull it off of the
This is the
internet?
first
They
book
take
I've
it
ever
from
read.
your gram.
Where do you assume pictures on books come from?
I don't know. You know who it kind of looks like?
Tell me.
And I'm embarrassed that I'm forgetting his name. But did you watch the second iteration of Wet Hot American Summer?
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember the guy who he always wore 3 collars? What's that actor's name? I know he went to school with Jada Pinkett and
Joseph Gordon.
Josh Gordon.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
No, Josh Gordon, I think. It doesn't matter. Everybody reading Gad We Trust.
And please go to Dax's curated list of places where you can support.
Yes, please do that as well.
Thank you
And
so much.
And if you're struggling, I hope this 2 hours was a reprieve.
Yeah, amen.
All right,
This
love
was,
you.
by the way, reprieve for me. Thank
Me
you.
too.
guys.
Me too.
All right, be well.
Josh Charles?
Josh Charles.
That's a little late for that. Thanks, Rob.
Josh.
I sure hope there weren't any mistakes in that episode, but we'll find out when my mom, Mrs. Monica, comes in and tells us what was wrong.
Burberry?
That's correct.
That's correct. Only wear
Signature.
Burberry to swim. That's a JC line. That's when you know you've made it, when you only wear Burberry to swim.
I don't. I wear it for fact checks.
Oh, yeah. Looks stunning.
Thank you.
Are you noticing anything?
About you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're growing your beard out.
Okay, great, sure. Or maybe back out. I just blow dried my hair. Blow dried?
Wow, okay.
What do you think?
It looks nice.
A lot of volume?
It looks fluffy.
Yeah, I got out of the shower and I was like, what if we put a little mousse in our hair and then hair dry it?
Oh my God.
And here we are.
Because 50.
No, I think New Year.
Okay, that's great.
Stagnation.
Sure, you want to mix it up.
Yeah.
Do you think a little bit of this potentially has to do with, we had a guest in who has like really fluffy hair?
No, but it is slightly impacted by the guest we're going to have after this fact check.
Okay.
Which he is such an eclectic.
Very.
This won't sound like a compliment, but it is.
Okay. One of your classic compliments.
One of my classic compliments that has you feeling terrible afterwards. Whatever the most exotic lizard is,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's rough. But
that's bad.
with the colorful
He's just cool.
He's
Maybe
so
you go with some original words like cool.
and he knows this. He's also dangerous. He's like Snake in the Garden of Eden. He already in that so much Easter eggs happening right now. But we're gonna talk about that. He's dangerous.
Oh, I'm excited for that. I like a little danger.
And he's dangerous and colorful. So if you can think of another, I don't want to use unicorn because unicorns are for babies.
And you don't like unicorns.
Right.
Except you do.
I love them. I love to call everyone a unicorn.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I got to stop. I got to start blow drying my hair and I got to stop using unicorn.
Your contradictions.
Yeah.
Dangerous but colorful is like a flamingo because I think they.
You think they're dangerous?
You. Yeah, I do think they're actually hidden danger.
You can just snap any part of them in half. They're
very tall.
Exactly. They're so tall and not robust.
Well, that's your privilege because you're tall so you could snap, but I'm too short. I wouldn't be able to reach.
Totally disagree. I would put you in the running back category. Ding, ding, ding.
Thank you.
Detroit Lions, we'll get there.
Yeah.
No, you were low and powerful, so you would smash into those flamingos' little dainty toothpick / chopstick legs.
Okay.
And it'd be, no one wants to know this, but it would be
No, this is like 2 fact checks in a row. We've been like
animal cruelty. True. But no, I need something a little more dangerous, but also radiant and beautiful and colorful. So I'm thinking with some of those lizards, they get pissed and they start walking on their back legs and they got their arms out
and
then
funny.
Their mantles out. They flare out their big parachute around their neck and it's full of colors.
What about peacocks? Are they mean?
No, these are birds.
Are you sure you know?
If you're going to use a bird, we use a predator bird.
Those aren't colorful on purpose because they're trying to blend in.
Right.
I feel that I'm drawn to birds, not in life, but in pictures.
Okay, sure.
I have a big photograph in my apartment of a woman. She has a cage on her head, but the bird is free.
What does that metaphor mean?
Oh, it's deep.
It is locked in the cage of your own mind.
It's like golden cage a little bit, but the bird is
golden handcuffs.
Also, I almost bought this other piece of art, not Anne Mansour, new lady.
Okay.
And it was also a woman with a bird. And I like immediately DM'd and was trying to get it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, how many things with birds can I have?
Yeah, because now it's probably about to pass the many, many self-images you have that my children have generated and that Kristen's generated, right? Because you have a lot of, as we know, photos of yourself, art of yourself.
Well, I'm not in these.
We talked about that, though. Is it like, would it freak someone out who came over?
Okay, there's a picture that Lincoln painted of me
Uh-huh.
when she was like 5 or 6. She was really young.
And Kristen
painted a picture of me for Secret Turkey.
And she made a figurine of you.
Yep.
And
with big boobs.
And then Lincoln also made a big boob figurine, as I recall.
Oh, okay. I only have one.
Okay.
I think I have the one Lincoln made.
Okay.
And it's in a drawer.
So no one would see that unless they were...
I mean, I want people to see it, but it invites a lot of questions.
Which could be helpful in the right context.
Circumstance.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Maybe if I get on the apps, which I probably won't, but if I do, maybe that could be my little picture.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. And so I have a little mystery too, but it's also being very obvious.
Yeah, you're also leaning in.
The
witness a little bit.
But those other ones aren't hung up. I am going to display definitely Lincoln's.
Yeah.
That's less
playful.
about me. Yeah.
They're all not about you.
Right.
In your defense.
Yeah. I didn't ask for them.
But we did ask the question, what would be critical mass, where even if they're not about you, someone might go, my Lord, this person has like 30 or 40 pieces of art depicting her.
I'm not doing that.
Even these famous artists, they tend to only do 1 or 2 self-portraits, as I recall. Right?
Yeah. Also the mouth. I mean, that's why I also have this space. I've put some of my art of me here.
Yeah. Well, that's right. So there's all that art too. And then there's the armchair art.
Yeah,
which we have a lot of.
We do, but that lives in our workspace. That feels fine.
Right.
That feels fine.
Real quick question. If you were a great artist, do you think you would do self-portraits, and how many would you do? Like, I guess I'm delighted Van Gogh did a self-portrait because there were no cameras around.
Right.
So my only idea of what he looks like is what he drew of himself.
Yeah, but it's probably so inaccurate. Like if I did a self-portrait.
Well, that would be great if you were a really, really talented artist
Yes.
and you could actually show us exactly what you see.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee it would be super off. Crickets are out.
Oh, yay. I mean, you're a good artist, so you could do a self-portrait.
Aren't they all those monsters I draw? I think those are all secretly self-portraits.
It's also a little like, that's how you're going to spend your time drawing yourself?
Yeah, but you're always there, right? If you need a model for something, it's
True.
like all you need is a mirror and your
That's true.
sketchy.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that.
Okay, should we dive into the heartbreak?
Yeah, let's hear about it.
So went to the game.
The Lions game.
The Lions playoff game against the Commanders.
Yeah.
And if I'm listing a top 10 experiences with my best friend Aaron Wakely, this is making the list. We were so beside ourselves that we were down on the field at the Lions. I had the singular goal of standing next to Dan Campbell, the coach.
Right.
In hopes I could get a sense of just how big he is, because I see him on TV. I also looked him up and it says 6'5".
Oh, wow.
But these football players are they're all a little bit embellished
Okay.
because they were coming out of college and they're entering the draft and they want to seem as big and as enormous. So it's always like if you see 6'5", probably 6'3 and a half.
Okay.
I'm just going to guess there's a standard 1.5 inch fluff.
Yeah.
So I was just hoping to stand next to him. So Keegan-Michael Key's there.
Oh,
Which
friend
is
of the pod.
Friend of the pod and the ultimate Detroiter. And I don't even pretend to be as authentic and committed to the Lions as he is. It's his life.
Okay, great.
So I'm a bit of a poser. But I'm as excited as anyone, so that counts.
Yeah.
So he knows everybody, as you might expect. So he introduces me to Martha Ford. Do you know who Martha Ford is?
Martha?
Martha Ford. Martha Ford.
Oh, no.
Rob, will you look up her age while I'm chatting?
She's 99.
90 fucking 9. Monica, I have to tell you, of all the things, I mean, she's tied with Dan Campbell. So she, if I am to believe Aaron, was the daughter of the Firestone Tire dynasty.
Oh, okay.
Married Henry Ford's son.
Wow. Is she hot?
I'll get there.
Okay.
They own the Lions, which
Yeah.
I wasn't even positive I knew. The Ford family owns the Lions.
Oh, wow, okay.
They own the Ford Field, the arena. Martha rolls in on a golf cart and she gets out. Next thing you know, I'm meeting her. She's so tiny.
Yeah, I bet.
I loved her immediately because she's so tiny. She has a walker.
What color hair does she have?
White.
Okay, just checking.
I know. I think once you're 99, your standard hair is white.
Yeah, but you might dye it.
Not Martha.
Oh, good for her.
She is such a spitfire. So they get us to line up. The team photographer is going to take a picture of us. And Martha has a walker. She's 99. And we're about to take the picture and she goes, "Get this out of here." She chucked her walker. She didn't want that walker fucking anywhere near this photo. And I was like, I love her.
Yeah.
I'll be standing for this and I don't want any evidence of this walker.
Oh, I love
Tough,
that.
fun. When I was shaking, I shook her hand for a very long time because I loved holding it. It was like shaking hands with Delta.
Oh.
It was the tiniest little hand, and she was so sweet.
Oh.
And I felt like I was in history.
Yeah.
Married Henry Ford's son.
That is wild.
That feels like from another eon.
Yeah, it does.
Then I start talking to Dan Campbell's wife by chance.
What color hair?
Brownish.
Okay.
From Dallas. Super fun. And before I know it, she's turning her attention away from me because Dan Campbell has walked out of the locker room. He walks directly up to her and gives her the longest kiss.
That's nice.
It was so nice.
Cute.
I was like, oh my God, I just love this whole thing. Then she introduces me to him. I'm shaking his hand. I'm very excited to be shaking his hand and saying things. I'm not even sure what I was saying. You know, oh, sure. And
Did you hope he would kiss you?
well, I'll get to that.
Oh my God.
So it's some chit chat. And then he gets distracted and then he's talking to Keegan and then he's going to carry on and he gives Keegan a huge hug. And I'm like, I'm going to, well, even worse. I'm like, I'm going to hug him goodbye.
Oh.
I I'm really afraid to say this because I'm afraid some Lions fans are going to blame me that this hug jinxed everything.
No.
And by the way, I did think it in my head for a couple hours. I started feeling really guilty. Like I shouldn't have.
Did you?
But I was like, all right, yeah, great meeting you. And I just got to make it very obvious I want a hug. And he hugs me.
He obliges.
And Monica, it was like hugging a water buffalo.
What do you mean? I need more.
He is so big.
Like squishy?
No. His lats are like this wide. His neck is like, this wide.
Right.
For the listener, I'm holding my hands very far apart.
Yeah.
He is, I don't think he's 6'5". It's a little bit like Toto. He's taller than me.
Toto is 6'9".
In
my heart.
Same. But he's definitely taller than me. Let's just say that. And he is just like hugging a redwood.
Were you like this? Like you couldn't get your arms?
That's what I thought I was, but then I saw a video of it.
Oh, okay.
All right. I just loved it. I hugged him. I felt his lats. They were so big.
Yeah.
I wanted him to throw me on the ground, kind of.
Sure.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to feel his power a little bit.
Yeah, I get it.
But he was so nice. He's such a nice man.
Yeah.
He got emotional on the post-game thing. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
it was very sweet.
I didn't watch.
Yeah, I think he's a vulnerable boy.
Oh.
I'm beaming like I'm 8 years old. Aaron is so excited.
Yeah.
He took a couple pictures. He goes, I took a couple pictures. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you took some pictures.
Yeah.
I go, Dad, look like a little baby next to him. And Aaron goes, you guys look like twins.
Twins? So he's not, wait, now I'm confused now.
You should be. I'm not nearly as big as him, but my son is such a sweet boy.
Oh, he was making
He was basically saying you guys were almost identical twins.
Let me look up this person. Hold on.
Do you just want to see a picture of me hugging him?
Yeah.
So you can get a sense of
Okay.
what I'm talking about?
Okay. Wow. Okay. For the listener who doesn't know,
Dan Campbell. It's everything I'm saying, right?
No, I'm about to say the actual opposite. The way you describe him
Okay.
is not accurate. Okay. I'm imagining how do I? Okay, I can't do this well. So
You were picturing like a monster from Game of Thrones, like the Hound or something.
but not muscular, really.
Oh no, he was
This guy's
safety.
Extremely muscular.
Oh, he's the most muscular.
But when you say water buffalo, you have to understand what people imagine.
Water buffaloes are pure muscle. That's why it's a great comp.
It's not. Anyway, he's hot for the listener. This man is very attractive and he's not what Dax explained. And he does look really tall and
Insanely
very
fat, right?
muscular and fit.
Yeah.
And a very handsome face.
He looks like he could just run right
How old is
through
he?
a cinder block wall. I don't want to know because I think he's younger than me, which would be a bummer, but I think probably true.
Not much.
Not much?
Yeah, not much.
Okay, that helps. How old is he?
48.
48. Whew, okay.
April birthday.
Oh, here we go. Rob's kind of got it.
Look, I'm not here to make you feel
Okay.
yeah.
First of all, there we are together.
Yeah. Look, I see what Aaron's saying.
And Aaron, I have the advantage that Aaron's behind me, so I'm closer to Aaron than look at this.
Aww.
Oh, look at his back, Monica. Look at the fucking width of his back and how tiny my hand looks on it.
Well,
Actually, that's not my hand. That's Keegan's.
oh my God, you were. Oh.
That's a lot of beef right there. Mm.
This is so stupid.
I know. Anyone who watches football has a crush on Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
He's like the Rock of NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ben Johnson. Oh, that's a heartbreaker. I don't want to talk about that.
Why?
We lost our offensive coordinator, right? Offensive
Oh, I
coordinator.
thought you
Yeah.
meant he died or something.
No, the Lions
the
offensive
fucking
coordinator's now coaching the Bears.
Bears took him.
Oh, this guy is attractive. Yeah.
Dan Campbell.
No.
Oh.
We already established he was. Now
Okay.
this new guy is also very attractive and he is 38.
Okay. That is just a few months older than you.
Correct. All
Oh
right.
my God. What if you were dating him and I was dating Dan Campbell? We could go to the
We'd be
drive-in.
rivals.
Well, now, because of Rob, because he's with the Bears.
Well, if I'm dating him,
But if he was still at the Lions, we'd both be rooting for the Lions.
This guy was at the Lions?
Yes, he was the offensive coordinator.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so it worked out perfectly. We could go to the games together and sit in the box and cheer for our boyfriends.
That'd be fun. That would be really fun.
Just like Taylor, your best friend.
Yeah, how fun. Okay, wait. Real quick, you're not letting me get a compliment out. I agree with Aaron in that picture. You guys do look similar.
God bless you. God bless you. If you hugged him, you would know we're not terribly similar, but I'm delighted that that's your verdict. Thank you.
Now you know what it's like to be me. Like when I hug big men.
Charlie.
Yeah. It has a very specific feel.
Do you like it or I like it? Do you like the feeling
of being small
and safe?
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at. Like I'm hugging this guy and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm good. If whatever runs up behind us, a rhinoceros or whatever, like it's on him. It's his job.
Wow. And that's very unlike you.
Exactly. It's a unique feeling for me to be being held by a man that is so much more powerful and big than me that I know he should handle the grizzly bear when it comes through the door.
And do you not feel that with Aaron?
Aaron, I feel this perfect equanimity. Like I'm a wrestler. He's a puncher. Right. Together, we're great. We're a duo. Mm-hmm. I totally feel safe around Aaron. I know that like I don't need to worry about what's behind me. I know that Aaron's always looking out for me. I know Aaron that would jump through fire for me.
Yeah.
I think he feels that way about me. So yeah, when I'm with him, and this has been since 7th grade, I feel so safe all the time.
Yeah.
He'll do anything to protect me and vice versa. But if a rhino comes through the door, Aaron and I got to team up on it. I'm not like, Aaron, go handle this. But if Dan Campbell was there, I'd be like, Dan, you're up.
You would?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. That's a first. I've not heard you say that about anyone.
Hence my giddiness.
You like getting into it.
I like being the guy that confronts the rhino, but also it feels very nice.
That's great.
To feel very safe that Campbell would be the one that would handle it.
Pin in this, I want to circle back to something, but.
Okay, great. Pin in the safety?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. So fast forwarding, got to be on the field when they ran out. That was incredible. Met Will Ford's son. It was just very fun to meet the Ford family. Chatted with a lot of different people. And then we were in the box with Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is the NFL commissioner.
Okay.
And has been for a long time. And just to put, I know it's terrible to quantify it this way, but it made me recognize how esteemed the job is. His previous contract is $70 million a year.
Woo.
And he just signed another 3-year contract. No one even knows what it is. But when you're paying someone more than Lewis Hamilton, I feel like you've got a pretty important job. All this info is coming from Aaron because he knows way more about football than I do. So Roger, people don't like him.
Oh.
I think it's the nature of the job.
Sure. Yeah, no one ever likes the commissioner.
No one ever likes the commissioner.
Oh, that's why they have to pay you a lot.
Probably. But I'm not entering with that kind of baggage. Right. I don't dislike him or like him. I just am flattered he wanted us in his suite. I think largely because of that Golden Globes thing.
Oh.
I left one thing out. Before I went up to the suite, they played a video on the big screen of me watching the watching the Lions game at the Golden Globes, and then cut to, and I had to wave and all that.
Oh, cute. That is like McConaughey. Good
Big
job.
time. And I've been in that situation several times at Lakers games and these different games. They'll put me on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And it's at best, I would say it's in the past, it's like a C+. Like I feel like generally maybe 30% of the Lakers crowd will know it's me and be excited.
Okay.
Because of that Golden Globes thing. It was legit. You know how I've always said I'm always envious of that experience the American Idol people get where they go to their hometown and they're in a convertible. I didn't think that would ever happen to me. And I'm like, when does that happen? That it happened.
Oh.
They showed that thing. They cut to me and the place legitimately went bananas.
Oh, that's wild.
It was almost hard to accept, but
yeah,
it was
that's sweet.
It was unbelievably lovely. I felt so loved by my people. Then back, okay, Goodell, Roger, he was immediately most engaging with Aaron.
Who wouldn't
asking
be?
Aaron a ton of questions, really engaging him, talking to me, but like he's not playing the status game. There's a lot of people in the
love that.
Fucking Barry Sanders is in the box. He's the most famous Lions player of all time. and the best player of all time and the best running back in history. He's in the thing. Roger could be chatting him up. He's talking to Aaron.
I love him.
Yes, he is and Aaron's like, I was anticipating that I would have to see my way out of conversations while you did your thing with the person who got us the tickets. And I was like, oh, this guy wants to chat with me, which he did. He's so down to earth and he was so lovely and hyper intelligent. And you can see why he's
How old is he?
65. Because
Still good.
I did make one joke that got him. We were talking about the thing I talked about on the previous fact check, where it's like, you used to be younger than the players. Now you're older than them, but you're younger than the coaches.
Yep.
Now I'm older than the coaches, and I hope to be younger than the owners. Thank God Martha's with us, 99.
Thank
I have
God.
yeah. And he and I were talking about that. And I said, well, how old are you? And he goes, 65. And I go, well, you look fucking great, which is true. He's very fit and looks great. Yeah, look up.
Oh, he looks great. Yep.
And I go, you look fucking great. You're definitely going to make it to 70.
Oh.
And that really tickled him.
That's fun.
Okay, so as you can see, we were on fire. We were screaming. We were meeting people we idolize. It was the two of us. We're from down the road in a dirt road, and it was really, really fulfilling and beautiful. And I was sharing it with Aaron, and it was so special.
Yay!
Fighting back the tears the whole time. And the game starts. It's rough right from the get-go. We cannot get a stop. They score every time they get it. Luckily, we score every time we get it. Our offense is great. And it just goes downhill. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And the crowd gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And I start thinking it's completely my fault because I haven't been to a game.
And you hugged.
And I hugged Dan. I'm sincerely regretting hugging Dan
crazy.
Campbell.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
But I think all fans do this. Carly thinks that the two games they lost this season was because Lola, her dog, didn't have her Detroit Lions bandana on.
People do this. Now you understand my knocking on wood.
I do. I was taking a lot of the blame for it.
Sorry. It's not your fault.
But I was also refusing to let the outcome take away what a fun season it's been, and then this crazy experience with Aaron that was as good as it could possibly get.
Good. Remember when I thought that Trump won because my ring was off my finger?
Yeah.
And you said, you're not that powerful.
I kept telling myself.
You said it in a nicer way, but you did say that.
I was saying to myself to try to get myself out of the dumps.
Yeah.
You don't have any control over the defense. It'd be great if you did.
Not that powerful.
You're not that powerful. But I was afraid other people would think I was that powerful.
Sure. We'll tell them now here you're not.
I'm not
You're
sure
just
if it's
a
not my.
person.
I'm only like 70%. It's not my fault.
That's how I feel about Trump.
Yeah.
I still feel it. I still feel like potentially it was the ring and the bee.
I feel like that's very universal. Rob, do you blame yourself when your team loses?
Yeah, I've got lots of superstitions when I'm watching.
Yeah. Oh, remember Rob Reiner was on? He said he went to the bathroom. They scored,
Yeah.
and then so he had to keep going to the bathroom.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We are supported by Allstate. Allstate partnered with Armchair Expert to be the presenting sponsor of this episode, so thank you, Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first.
Like, to check if you have a full tank of gas before you go out on a road trip. You just know that.
Yes, or to check yourself in the mirror to make sure there's nothing in your teeth first before you start recording a video ad.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Do I have anything in my teeth?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Like, you have to check your breath before you have a first kiss.
Sure, cup and blow and sniff.
Also, you have to check to make sure your clothes aren't on inside out before you put them on. I do.
Or upside down. Check to see if there's some paste on your brush before you start brushing your teeth. There's simple things. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. This content is intended for audiences in the U.S. only. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. Okay, you wanted to earmark safety.
Yes, I did. So this is a big pivot, but it did remind me that while you were at the game, I had therapy.
Oh, okay.
I had two big epiphanies.
You did. Would you call them breakthroughs?
Yes.
Okay.
Guided by my incredible
Your spiritual advisor.
Yes, she's, she really is worth her money.
Okay, great. Especially because you were a little bit on the fence on the New Year's about whether you're going to continue on.
Well, yeah, I was like, maybe I just go to once a month. And now I'm like, I got to go back to 2 times a week. So the fires, it was the first time I'd seen her since then.
Yeah.
And first of all, January sucks. I'm going to say that just like as a fact.
Yeah.
January is the worst month of the year. It's horrible. Bad things happen.
Jan 1 is when I had norovirus yakking for 8 hours. Okay, I'm kind of on board. The Lions lost. Go continue.
3 out of the 5 last Januaries have been horrendous.
Oh, yeah, I got it. You're saying across the board, January blows.
Januaries are bad.
Okay.
I'm sorry that your birthday's in there, but like it's a bad month.
Weather generally sucks.
Yeah, weather sucks. People die. Like things go up in flames, literally. It's bad. But I do think they've all like taught me something. I walked into February with new information. It's been a gloomy January for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about that. Obviously, for the fires, we were fine, right? We didn't have to evacuate. Our houses are okay.
Yeah. We have the best version of it.
Exactly. So lucky. But still, it's just been like, oh my God, there's so much loss everywhere. Every day you're hearing about somebody else who lost everything and you're trying to figure out how to help. And it's just like overwhelming. So I kind of figured it was just that. I was like, I think I'm just overwhelmed by everything going on. Then we kind of got to that it was, I think, more than that and more personal. And I think people who are sort of struggling through this here who didn't have like massive loss but are still down.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple people who are like depressed who aren't normally. Like I'm surprised.
Oh.
And I realized that like in the moment, especially in the moment when you're packing your bag up and it's, you're panicked because you're like, I might have to be out of here in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're standing in your house or apartment or whatever. And you are faced with the 2 most like deepest, most existential questions that we have, which are who do you really have and what do you really need? And it's both at the exact same time.
Yeah.
In a moment of panic, like you have to know the answer.
Yeah.
And I think we walk around with so much false security about those questions. Like we think we know or it's fine. But this is like push comes to shove. What's your reality?
Yeah.
And
the rubber meets the road in a evacuation.
Yeah. If you're forced to ask those questions and the answer is I don't know, it's very heavy.
Unsettling.
It's very unsettling
Disruptive.
And destabilizing and like you feel untethered.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely what I am feeling and what I think other people might be feeling too. It's just going to take some time to process.
Yeah.
But I found that helpful to know, like, oh, that's what I'm sort of struggling with.
Right.
It's much deeper.
You can't work on future natural disasters as a cure. Right? You can only work on the things that actually emerged in that situation that are personal.
Yeah. Also, she told me, and this was also fascinating, is in times of true crisis, and this also happens like in death, people become their truest, like most base version of themselves.
Right.
And like not the person they've worked on becoming or are mostly, but who they are at their core.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I was thinking about who I was and who other people were in my life and what was happening.
It kind of is what I was bringing up about, like, we do have this genetic wiring to fulfill a role that when it happens, that thing really goes to the front and center.
Yeah.
Is it related to that or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
like, I think
connected.
you're almost your genetics take over.
Yeah.
Not the artifice of your identity.
But I don't know if it's genetic so much as yes, but also what you did when you were a kid, how you coped, how you like a lot of like your biggest fears, your insecurities, those things come to the forefront and they're leading the charge. Like they are the thing that comes out. It's wild.
And this is one of the times where having a high ACE score is like really nice. Because you've done a bunch of these. You know, I've done a bunch of police are at the house and fire departments at the house.
But you're still a person. You're still a person in there. You still have a personality.
But I have
in
a lot of practice, like submersion therapy, which is like, yeah, we're going to dad's in the middle of the night. You live there now. That's disruptive. And then in 6th grade's fun. You know, like I have a ton of personal experience where it's like, I lived on the other side of those.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people that have been terrified a bunch of different times, one of the only benefits is like, you're like, oh yeah, here's another thing.
Yeah.
And it'll be all right.
Yes. I think there's like 2 things happening. One is like what you're doing, right? And then the other is what you're thinking, who you are in those moments. Like it's different, right? Like we talked about this before, where it was sort of the first time I had to be like, I have to do everything. I have to figure out what I'm taking. I have to load it in the car. I have to make sure I have this, and this. Things I normally just say like, whoever I'm with is going to do half of that stuff.
Right.
And so I'm doing it, but what's coming up and who I am in it and what I'm thinking is like,
I'm alone.
I have nobody. I am abandoned. I am really all I have is myself. I'm scared.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like I'm scared. I'm a fearful person.
Yeah.
And I have overcome a lot of that in life, but not in this circumstance. I can't.
Right.
So it's like, it's at a 10.
Well, you've probably just been ratcheting up what level for you is manageable over time as you've grown, right?
Yeah.
Like panic attacks and Soul Cycle versus now, there is a threshold that you've kept moving up. You can handle it and such and such.
Yeah.
And then, some things exceed that threshold.
Yes. And it also was, I think, important for me to have understanding for how everyone's behaving. Like everyone is going to behave quite differently because we're all different and had much different life experiences and deal with trauma in very, very, very different ways.
Yep.
Because like on Tuesday night, the first night when it was starting, I was like, you know, texting with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how do we, Callie and I were both like, well, yeah, we don't know what to do here. Like, where do we go? What do we do? We were also like kind of joking.
Of course.
And then I was also texting with Jess. And in my head, I was like, well, Jess is down the street. So like, that's easy. We'll go. And then at like 9, I start looking at the other fire, the Eaton fire. And it is getting like bigger and bigger. And I called him and he was asleep. And I was like, oh my God, how can you possibly go to sleep right now? Like, this is crazy. Yeah. And then I was like, yeah, I think that's who he is in crisis. He like really calm, but to almost like whatever happens. Disassociated.
Yeah,
whatever happens is going to happen. I can't really control it. So I'm just going to go to bed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Potentially dangerous, but this just happened, right? It happened with Tom Hansen. I was, to be vague intentionally, I was very much on the verge of blowing everything up in a very public way because of my anger towards something. Mm-hmm. And I ended up sharing about it in a meeting that he was at. Mm-hmm. In that share, he learns of the timeline. So then he calls me the next day because he's my dad and he wants to help me. Yeah. And I don't call him back, and I don't call him back for 3 days. And finally on the 3rd day, he's like, what the fuck's going on? Why won't you call me back? And I finally FaceTime him and I go, I didn't want to talk to you because I didn't want to hear the right answer. I didn't want the right answer. And I know you have the right answer. Yeah. And so I was avoiding you because I wasn't there. I still wanted to torch everything.
Yeah.
and I didn't want to be talked down, and I apologize, but I just so in that way, I think we often call people that we want to confirm the answer we're looking for, right? I do it. I know people call me. Someone wants to buy a motorcycle. They don't call their doctor. They call me.
Well, of course, but that's
Thinking about
because
getting a
that's your
motorcycle.
expertise.
Well, and they know like I'm pro motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious in that same construct, when you start texting people, do you feel that you start texting other people that you know will also be really nervous and not texting people that you know are going to tell you it's not bad?
That's a good question.
The dangerous part is like what didn't happen was you didn't text me.
Yes, I didn't.
And you knew it wasn't going to go well if you did, which is fair.
Correct.
And we invited you over and you didn't want to be around my energy, which would have been probably rough.
There were multiple things happening. There was so much happening then that is more complicated.
Okay. But back to, do you think that's happening at all? Are you calling the people that are going to most reassure you? Or are they going to call the people that are going to confirm it's as scary and dangerous as you feel like it is?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess I'm probably reaching out to people that will confirm, but more I'm especially in this case, I know for certain that you aren't panicked about this,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So
yes.
me reaching out to you, all I would have
It's
been
going to be
able-
frustrating, probably.
all I would have said is like, I'm really scared.
Yeah.
And then I think my fear then is if you respond without compassion,
Right.
that will upset me.
Yep.
So what's the point, right? Like
Right.
I know where you stand on it, and I'm
Because
not sure.
I know what I would have done. I've been like, first of all, you will not die because you can get in your car and drive away from this fire, right? Like I'd start going through the reasons that, let's just start with, you're not going to die tonight. You're not
Right.
going to die tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if your car doesn't start, you call me, I'll pick you up.
Yeah.
You're not going to die.
Yeah.
That would be like my first goal, is just go like, there's a lot of things on the table here. Yeah, you might lose your shit. You might lose this beautiful house you've been building forever. Like we might get to that, but I would have just wanted to start with like, this isn't a tsunami and we live on the,
No, I know.
like we can escape this.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would have been helpful, I'm sure, but I don't know in that moment. What is out of 10 is I'm alone.
Right.
So I don't think, like, all I was really trying to do subconsciously is confirm that I'm not,
Right.
or that I am.
Right.
Get some validation or confirmation.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I was the range of people that I was texting wasn't all panic. Again,
Right.
just slept. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, there's probably two things going on. There's like a logistical call list,
Yeah.
and then there's a comfort call list.
Yeah.
And yeah, I probably would have been bad at it. I would have gone straight into what I do often and try to avoid, but still keep doing, which is like not observe you, but try to fix
Right.
the anxiety.
Right.
I would be trying to point out, we are not going to die tonight. You know, I would be bad at going, yeah, like I wouldn't be good at.
Yeah, which
I wanna
is,
be
you
good at
don't
it.
need to be good at meeting me at anxious. Like
Right.
I don't think that's good.
I saw some people, I'll just leave it at that. And when I saw them, this was on Thursday morning, the look on both of their faces was, and I registered, oh, fuck, their house burnt down.
But it didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah. But maybe they were sitting with some of
They
these
were.
things.
I'm not at all shaming anyone for how they dealt with it, but I went, oh my God, clearly their house is gone. And it wasn't. So then I think the primitive side of me goes, we can't have this. It's not productive. We are actually in a situation and there is not room for that. So snap into survival mode.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think I can tend to get frustrated in that situation, that I think certain people are making things worse.
Yeah.
In an already bad situation.
Yes, I do think you.
And
think
that was definitely the vibe of my household, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's,
And I think I know that
Yeah.
about you. And sometimes that is where we butt heads because I feel like I should, it's okay for me to care.
To be scared.
And scared and whatever. And
you have no more control over your reaction than I have over mine.
exactly.
I think all of those things would have been true if we were heavily interacting during all that.
Yeah.
And I accept it all. And I cause a lot of that.
Well,
but the only thing the thing I need to say out loud that I hope you didn't feel is I would not be judging you or thinking you're stupid.
I don't
Like
think
if there was any
I'm
part of you that's
stupid.
afraid to tell me how you feel because I'm going to be judgmental of it, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't have happened. And I don't feel that way. I do get pragmatic about if everyone's bawling before we've got in the car, that's going to be a really hard, right?
Totally. But
I'm not angry at anyone for having their emotions or judgmental of it. I recognize and accept it, and I don't feel above it.
But do you think, and whatever answer's right, my guess is you think I overreact a lot. In general, just in general as a person.
See, it's the over that makes it a judgment.
Right.
Can I observe that you and I break 4 ribs, break my clavicle into 5 pieces, break my hand, break my humerus, drive home 6 hours, ride 2 more sessions on the track, drive home 5-6 hours, go to sleep, don't go to the doctor, don't go to the following day. Mm-hmm. So that's how I react to things. And then when you cut your hand, you were very scared and you reached out to a lot of people. So do I recognize the humongous delta between how you and I react to things? I absolutely do. But it's not over and I'm not under. This is how Dax reacts for a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
And this is how Monica reacts for a myriad of reasons.
Right.
And so that's the thing I wanted to bring up and make sure you're crystal clear on. I'm not saying overreact. I'm saying I see how you react to things. I can observe it. It's much different than how I react to things.
Yeah.
But that does not make me conclude I'm better.
I feel that you think that I get upset over things. Well, I do. I get upset over things that you don't get upset over.
Yeah.
To me, that's fine.
Yeah,
the things I get upset over, I believe are upsetting. I think it's okay to be upset about those things. And I understand that you don't. I do think at one point in our long friendship, I was like, why aren't you upset about this?
Uh-huh.
I used to be like that towards you. I don't understand why you're not upset about this. This is upsetting.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore at all. And I respect that you don't, but I wonder if...
Well, we can go right at it. There's a lot of things on the table here.
Yeah.
Do I accept that about you? Yes. Does it make me love you less? No. Does it make me not want to be friends with you? Absolutely not. Now, you and I also do a job together.
Yeah.
We sit down in here to do a fact check, and I sit down on a couch and I look across to see you.
Yeah.
And often you're upset about things like the election, and you can't shake it when you're in here. So now, do I think inside of this box, we have to be entertaining and we have to kind of manage how much of a downer we are? I do, professionally.
Right.
I think we have an obligation. Like the newscasters got to come on and they can't start crying during the thing. Now they can feel however they want throughout the whole day. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, it's just very subjective. Like you cry and people come in here and they cry and they're allowed. And it's actually to me, it's an asset, not crying, but what we've built here. And I do think we have built here a place of honesty.
Yeah.
And to come in and to plaster a smile when I'm scared or there's fires or there's an election that I think is deeply disturbing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying we need to wallow in it, but I think it would be such a disservice, not just to me, to this show, to our audience, to what we've built here, to pretend like those things aren't upsetting. Like,
It's fine if we have a bit of a difference of opinion on that.
mm-hmm.
I do think this show has to be entertaining. And I don't think either of us can be in a shit mood for 4 weeks. I think we have an obligation to rise above that. I do. And we differ in that. And I understand what you're saying. Like, well, this is honestly me. And of course, I'm not trying to make someone not be honestly them. But I know if I'm listening to Howard Stern and Robin, and one of them is just in a dark hole for 3 weeks, I have compassion for them, but I'm going to go listen to something else at some point. I can't join someone on my hour drive where I'm trying to distract myself from the things I'm worrying about. I'm looking for a reprieve. So I think it's okay. We do have different opinions on what obligation we have here to a degree. And I think there is room for us to be our real selves.
Yeah.
But I also think it needs to be monitored, and we have to be responsible to do these people that rely on us for an escape deserve something fun and funny a lot of the time.
I get that.
We did a really good job at that, I think.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do you think we did a good job at that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're running low on time.
Facts.
Yeah, we have facts. Okay, so this is and I guess it's timely that we talked about the fires and stuff because this is for Josh Gad.
Gad. Wonderful.
We deep dived.
Yes. He's a perfect guest.
He really is. I DM'd him and said so.
Oh, good. Yeah. He's funny. He's smart. He's emotional. He's truthful.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a soup to nuts. Same with Adam Scott. I was really delighted with the Adam Scott episode. Really, really delighted.
Sweetheart. Okay. Josh Gad, you can gift up to $18,000 tax-free, but now it's $19,000.
Great news.
Great news for
Really.
everyone. You said your grandparents took you to Scarface in 1981 on opening day and you were 6, and it was 83.
Not as good of a story.
Well, 8 is
Just-
still young.
It's still young, but it's not a great
6
story.
is. But you know what? We already know that you wouldn't remember it if it was 6. So it actually makes more sense that you were 8.
It does. It does. Well, here comes the great thing. And this is on topic because he's written a memoir.
Yeah.
I have tons of memories. And I know my kids don't remember shit. So, of course, I'm quite skeptical of them. But I could take a polygraph.
Well, yeah, because you believe it. So
I do.
You'll pass it. I know. Every time someone says now, and I feel bad, but when people say like, oh, yeah, I was 3 and I remember, I'm like, you don't.
But, okay, I'm reading Bill Gates' book right now.
Oh, he might because his brain's...
I believe it.
Yeah, but his brain's different than most people's. So, speaking of Easter egg, I guess we can talk about this later, maybe if you want.
Okay.
Have you started telepathy tapes?
No, what is that? I saw that in the comments.
It's a podcast.
Okay.
About neurodivergent, mainly nonverbal autism.
Oh, Kristen listened to it.
Yes, she did. Most of the girls are listening to it in our group. And nonverbal autism, a lot of people have stories about their children
Communicating telepathically over a distance of miles, like in a town. Meeting at a place called like Mine Mountain or something where they
I haven't got there yet, but also mainly with their like parents. It's often. I mean, I'm only one episode in. I do think the human brain
has more potential than we're aware of.
than we'll ever know.
Yep.
And I kind of do think anything is possible.
Yeah.
For the brain.
I overheard a lot of it. I was debating whether or not to listen to it.
Yeah.
I asked a friend that we very much trust, you and I, an incredibly smart friend.
Yeah. He says there's little science to back any of that up.
Yeah. And that'll be so hurtful to the people who have
Right.
experienced this, and maybe they've experienced it, whatever. But I would need a pretty robust bit of science behind it to believe that people are telepathically communicating over miles. It's a tough one for me.
I don't know about the over miles because I'm not there. Well, someone said something really interesting about it. They were like, we've all in some ways communicated telepathically, like non-verbally to people we are very hyper connected to.
Sure.
And just in a room. You know, we can feel energy shifting. There's real.
But would you agree? I think that's way more pattern recognition. So like, I know you so well. I've observed now so many contexts where things happen and then I see the result of it.
Yeah.
So often we're at a dinner and I hear someone say something and I know in a second what you're going to think. And then I look over at your face and then you look at me and I confirm, oh yeah, I do know exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah, but
that to me is more pattern recognition. Like, stimulus A generally results in output B.
But don't you think even when we're sitting here, I'm sitting there next to you. You can't see my face.
Yeah.
But
I can feel
often-
the fuck out of your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure,
and
sure.
vice versa. I do too.
But I can't actually hear your thoughts.
I know, but I think that's a little rigid, I think.
Okay.
Because all I'm trying to say is I think people do communicate non-verbally a lot and we don't even really recognize it.
Yes.
And I do think people are on a scale of how attuned they are to other people's energies. And it depends on the person, definitely.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I'm open to that being the truth.
Let me just say, I want that to be the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love the notion that these nonverbal kids are communicating telepathically. I actually want that.
Me too.
But I have such a knee jerk about getting duped.
Yes.
Like, I know there's an emotional thread to this that makes it a little bit, and that is a red flag to me. It's like, yes, I think when you get me emotionally involved and I am very sympathetic already to the subjects.
Yeah.
I'm not really in my most subjective mind anymore, you know?
Yeah. Remember the woman we had on
About hiring more neurodivergent people?
and
Yes.
she herself is neurodivergent.
Yes.
And remember, like, she has
She had the
synesthesia.
opposite of-
She could just pull the meaning from a book from basically staring at the pages. Like, she does have skills that just
boggle the mind.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Marine Dune.
Marine Dune. Yeah.
Yeah, Marine Dune.
That's all very interesting.
Yes.
And I don't know why I brought that up. There was memories, maybe? Memories. Wrote about memories. Okay, real quick. He said the funniest person he ever worked with was Andrew Reynolds, minus us.
Present company excluded.
Exactly, but we have not worked with him. So then it brought up this interesting
Although
question.
you could count us doing an episode with him.
I don't count
That's
that.
our work. And his work is promoting.
I don't count it.
It's a stretch.
Then that brought up this interesting philosophical question that's in my book, Intermezzo. There's a really interesting question that comes up in this book I'm reading that's sort of similar to this of what's truth and what's a lie. And we'll talk about it next week. I'll bring it up.
Okay, great. Yeah, read
It's
it
kind of a
like
riddle.
do the thing from the book exact.
Okay, I will. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, GLP-1s, that was a really interesting topic and conversation, I thought. I was happy he talked about it.
Yeah, me too.
But also, yeah, they're finding so much interesting stuff about GLP-1s, and I'm interested.
I'd say 10% of Eric and I's conversations are about GLP-1s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really wild.
Very
I
fascinating.
kind of want to try it.
Oh, wow.
Not for
For
weight
wine?
loss. No, not for weight. Yeah, not even for. I just want to see, like, what does it do on my psyche?
Yeah, Eric's the exact same. Like, there's
Yeah.
no shift other than he doesn't eat as much.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't crave sugar.
Which
And
that
so he's
was
not
his
in a
addiction.
shitty mood because he hasn't eaten 10 pounds of sugar.
Right.
So it's like it does impact his mood, but not because it's changing his mood, but because he's not actually dealing with all the fallout from.
Interesting.
Yeah. Again, it sounds all great, but beneficial to me.
It might highlight what your addictions are. Because if you stop wanting something, it might tell you, like, actually, you crave that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So that's it.
All right. I rode my bike by your house today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did you wave?
Yeah. Love you.
Love you.